pray at the Western Wall, where Christians walk the stations of the cross, and where Muslims worship at Al-Aqsa Mosque. However, through all of these years, presidents representing the United States have declined to officially recognize Jerusalem as Israel's capital. In fact, we have declined to acknowledge any Israeli capital at all. But today we finally acknowledge the obvious, that Jerusalem is Israel's capital. This is nothing more or less than a recognition of reality. It is also the right thing to do. It's something that has to be done. That is why, consistent with the Jerusalem Embassy Act, I am also directing the State Department to begin preparation to move the American Embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. This will immediately begin the process of hiring architects, engineers, and planners so that a new embassy, when completed, will be a magnificent tribute to peace. In making these announcements, I also want to make one point very clear. Will be a magnificent tribute to peace. In making these announcements, I also want to make one point very clear. This decision is not intended in any way to reflect a departure from our strong commitment to facilitate a lasting peace agreement. We want an agreement that is a great deal for the Israelis and a great deal for the Palestinians. We are not taking a position of any final status issues, including the specific boundaries of the Israeli sovereignty in Jerusalem or the resolution of contested borders. Those questions are up to the parties involved. The United States remains deeply committed to helping facilitate a peace agreement that is acceptable to both sides. I intend to do everything in my power
to
help
it will recognize Jerusalem as Israel's capital. Here's why that matters. Jerusalem is holy to three major religions. It's where Solomon built the first Jewish temple, where Christ was crucified, and where the prophet Muhammad ascended into heaven. Today, it's one of the core issues in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Israel says Jerusalem is its capital, including East Jerusalem, which it's occupied since 1967. The Palestinians say East Jerusalem is their capital. Palestinians and their supporters say that if the US recognizes Jerusalem as Israel's, it cannot be an honest peace broker.
That would be actually the kiss of death to the two-state solution, because Jerusalem is at the very heart of the two-state solution.
For decades, US administrations have said the city's status must be decided by peace talks, and that moving the embassy to Jerusalem would be taking Israel's side. In the first few months of his presidency, Trump had kept that tradition, even at the expense of a campaign promise.
We will move the American embassy to the eternal capital of the Jewish people, Jerusalem.
But at the start of this week, he missed a legal deadline to sign the presidential waiver that would delay the embassy move. The Palestinians have made it very clear that moving the US embassy, or even just recognizing Jerusalem as Israel's capital, would be unacceptable to them. Other world and regional leaders have also strongly warned against it. One argument is that a city that has already been fought over for centuries would better serve now as a place of peace.
When they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them, as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. But ye, brethren, are not in darkness, that that day should overtake you as a thief.
There is a storm coming like nothing you have ever seen, and not a one of you is prepared for it.
Ladies and gentlemen, there is an approaching storm. that is on the horizon. But the only question is, can you be able to see that storm coming? Do you see the signs of the storm which is approaching? Before a storm comes, there will be signs. You will look above. You will even feel that it's getting windier and windier. The clouds start rolling in. From a distance, you will be able to detect whether a storm is coming or not. Nowadays, we have meteorologists who will tell you, they will give you the forecast of an approaching storm, which the signs of it can be seen all around us. I'm talking metaphoric at this time. Metaphorically speaking,
we interrupt our programming. This is a national emergency. Important details will follow. The emergency alert system has been activated.
My brethren, be strong in the Most High, and in the power of His might. Put on the whole armor of Yah, that ye may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. Wherefore, take unto you the whole armor of the Most High, that ye may be able to stand and withstand in the evil day. And having done all to stand, stand therefore, having your loins girt about with truth, and having on the breastplate of righteousness, and your feet shod with the preparation of the gospel of peace. Above all, take the shield of faith, wherewith ye shall be able to quench all the fiery darts of the wicked, and take the helmet of salvation and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of the Most High Yah.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 1.
Shalom to the set-apart family of the Most High Yah. We want to welcome you to another Sword of the Spirit audio broadcast teaching. We are your hosts, the servants of Yah. Psalms 119 and 59. Blessed are those who consider their ways and turn their feet to your testimonies. So to each and every one of you who are returning back to our Abba Yah with your whole hearts, we greet you once again on this beautiful, sunny Sabbath day. and we feel honored that you are a part of the companion and the rest of those who are keeping his Sabbath. I'm going to get this right. I'm going to go ahead and bring in my co-host. Welcome to our 128th audio broadcast. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, sis. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
You know, with the whirlwind that I've been in the last couple of weeks, I'm doing great. I give praise to the Most High Yah. For those of you out there that did not know, I lost my grandmother on December the 22nd. She was 94, but, you know, I'm glad that she's no longer suffering.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I just give, you know, praise to Yah. So even though I'm going through financial and other things going on, Yah has been filling in the gaps. So so I truly thank him for that.
Yeah, you have been going through a lot, and, you know, even though you've been going through, he's been showing you that he has been right there with you, and so we just give him praise for that and allowing you to have peace on his set-apart day.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's cold outside, but it's sunny. It looks like it's warm outside just from looking from just looking through the blinds. It looks like it's about 80 degrees outside, so I'm just going to pretend that it is, but it's not raining or anything.
I know that's
right. You know, I feel pretty good this morning, so just glad to be here once again, coming before his people.
Yes.
And we're going to just go ahead and get right into today's 128th audio broadcast. We want to welcome you all back. We took a brief 2-week hiatus. It was just a sabbatical. First of all, you know, Preena, as she just stated, she lost her grandmother, and I was on vacation as well. So that's why we have not been back. Has it been 2 weeks or just one? I think it was just the one.
I think it was one.
Okay, just last week, right? So we had double things going on.
I won't be able to next Sabbath.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, we
my
won't be
grandmother's
having
funeral.
Yeah, her funeral, Preena's grandmother's funeral will be on next Sabbath. So we will not be doing a broadcast next Sabbath, and that's on the 6th, January 6th.
Yes.
2018. So we will not be doing another Sabbath teaching. We will resume the following Sabbath. So we have like 128, you know, teachings. So I'm sure there may be one or two that many of you may not have heard. So, you know, just go back through our Daughter of Yah channel, you know, and check out some of the previous teachings, and then, but we will be back following that. So I just wanted to just make that quick mention before we got into today's teaching. Well, I'm going to go ahead and get started. If you don't have anything else.
No.
Okay, so our 128 audio broadcast teaching is entitled The Final Captivity of Israel, the dismantling of a crafty covenant, and this is coming from Psalms 83. So, you know, I'm reading it kind of like how I have it worded, the final captivity of Israel, the dismantling of a crafty covenant, and the Psalms 83 nations. And so we know that the children of Israel, they have gone through numerous captivities, beginning with the slavery when they were in Egypt. Okay, and then following the split of the two kingdoms after King Solomon's death, we know that they went into the Assyrian, Babylonian, Medo-Persian, the Greek, and Roman captivities. However, but there is a seventh captivity, which would Scripture state will be their final captivity. And we want to answer some questions today. One is, what is so unique or significant about the seventh and final captivity of Yah's chosen people? What is the identity of this nation, where it was prophesied that true Israel would serve in their final captivity under hard labor and affliction for 400 years? And I'm making an emphasis on the hard labor and affliction, and you'll see later why I'm doing that. And also, who are these blood-descended children of Israel? How can these people be identified today? And what is their significant role in the end-time prophecy of these people? in the last days. And so today we're going to discuss why. You heard at the beginning of the audio teaching, audio clipping of Trump and what he is now declaring, that the U.S. will move their embassy now to Jerusalem because he is now declaring Jerusalem the capital of Israel. And so we're going to discuss today why there are mass protests going on in the Middle East since Trump made this announcement. We're going to talk about why, what's all this fighting that they're doing? What is this all about? This is all prophecy, and we're going to take you through today. We're going to also include in today's teaching, we're going to allow you, for those of you who have not heard, a letter of confession that some Arab leaders recently sent to a black Christian pastor. And so what does this letter of confession that they sent to this so-called, and I'm calling them so-called African-American, what does this letter of confession mean, and particularly for the Psalms 83 nations and their agreement that they entered into as spoken of in Scripture? And so today we're going to not only reveal why this final captivity is so important, but also reveal how this final captivity is leading us closer and closer to the fulfillment and the return of our Master Yahshua. So today is definitely not a day that you don't want to take out, notebook, pencil, pen, whatever. You definitely are going to need to take notes for today's show. I'm asking that you guys will have patience while listening to this teaching, because we're really going to take you through some things to really give you a full understanding. Just kind of taking you through this final captivity. We're going to be talking about the other nations as it involves Israel, and why these specific nations are important as it pertains to end time prophecy. We're going to go through Ezekiel, some scriptures in Ezekiel, Psalms 83. But for me, I like to take you through so that by the time you get to where I need you to be to get that understanding, it's a clear picture for you. So today you definitely want to have your patience. And for the State of the Body panel discussion, normally we discuss it first, but we're going to kind of discuss this within the teaching, but not in the beginning, somewhere maybe in the middle, closer to the end of the teaching. It's going to be entitled The Adverse Childhood Experience and Its Effect on the So-Called African American. So what we're going to discuss is how childhood trauma or childhood experiences and trauma, just trauma in general, how it is a direct link to the curses of our people, as a nation, and as it pertains to our health and diseases and the function and development of the brain. This is something that I felt like I needed to put on today's audio broadcast teaching, because it really does clear up a lot of things. And it also coincides with the curses and what Yah said what happened to our people. And so we're going to be connecting a lot of dots today, bringing more clarity to what's going on in end-time prophecy and what's going on with the world, what's going on with this fighting in Israel, Trump's declaration. We're going to bring this all to a head today. And so just quickly, our last audio broadcast teaching, our 127th, I'm going to get it right today, our 127th audio broadcast teaching, it was entitled Be Not Many Teachers. And pretty much, this teaching was pretty much exposing a lot of the false teachings and the prideful conduct of many so-called teachers, especially amongst the awakened people of Israel. We talked a lot about authority and those who seek authority of positions of authority within the body, those who want to be teachers, because we know once Israel awakened, many of us feel like right away we want to go right into teaching, and we have not had an opportunity to really learn and get a full understanding of the word. And so we address a lot of the teachings, or shall I say the reality of what it's going to take to truly be a teacher of Yah, and making sure that you understand what is expected of you as a teacher, the conduct, the knowledge, and the understanding, because as our Messiah said that he told his disciples that not many of you should desire to be a teacher, because you will be held with greater or stricter judgment, so you're held by the words that you speak, and by those words you will be judged and condemned. So I don't think many of our people understand how serious it is, their role is of being a teacher, and how serious it is if you lead his sheep astray, especially if you're operating out of pride and haughtiness, or you have your own personal agendas to lead the sheep away from our master. So if you missed our 127th audio broadcast teaching, Be Not Many Teachers, please check it out via the Daughter of Yah YouTube channel. Okay, so let's, we're going to just go right into today's teaching. When we think about the Messiah's saying, and these things must come to pass, for many of you, Matthew 24 should come to mind, and we know that, just coming from Matthew 24, when the disciples asked what would be the sign of his coming, meaning what would be the sign of his return, what signs in the last days would signify the end of this age. And in Matthew 24, and he gave a lot of signs of things that will happen, from us being afflicted and put in jail, and hated for his name's sake, and having to be on the run, and, and so we're not going to talk about that today, because our next teaching is going to be entitled Sign of the Times, but just kind of introducing you, just kind of giving an introduction to what we're talking about today as far as the sign of the end of this age, the sign of the end times, or the signs of the last days. In addition to those things that the Messiah, Yahshua, talked about, there are also some other end time prophecies that many miss. And one end time prophecy, actually one of the greatest end time prophecies that will happen in the last days, is that of the awakening and return of the true biblical Israelites. And I know many of you are probably thinking, wait, okay, did she just say the return of the true biblical Israelites? Because I thought that they had already returned, or, back in the land in what year? 1948. Now, this is the reason why we must, in order for us to understand prophecy, we have to understand who the people really are. And we have to be able to do that through Scripture, and with Scripture, lining up, it has to be precept upon precept, line upon line, here a little, there a little, to be able to gain full understanding. Many think the people that are over in Israel now, that they're in our land, they think that that's true Israel. They are not the true Israelites, and we're gonna get into that today, and we're going to be able to show and prove, and also with the confession. that we're going to be hearing today as well. And this is directly connected to what's going on in Israel right now with the fighting and the declaration of Trump to make Jerusalem the capital of Israel. This is all directly linked. And so, again, that which is Israel over there in the land right now is not true Israel. And again, the greatest end time or last day or latter day prophecy is not only the awakening but also the return of true Israel. And so the reason why many so-called biblical scholars and experts are having trouble really with prophecy in itself is because they don't know who true Israel is. I have, during my studies for today's teaching, it was, what did I say? Not difficult, but I would say quite challenging for me to get a lot of the information, and a lot of it is coming from the leaning and understanding of the Ruach, because a lot of it was based off of these people that are over there now that everyone believes is Israel, okay? And so I had to kind of navigate around that. And so as prophesied in Ezekiel 37, in those dry bones, Yah has declared that Israel, because that's what Ezekiel 37 is about, the restoration of the house of the two houses, the house of Israel and the house of Judah, the 12 tribes of Israel, those dry bones, they would once again rise and live, okay? And so we're going to take you through the beginning, and I'm going to lead you up until what's going on today so that you can see why this final captivity is so important. What is the significance of it? What is the significance of what is going on today, and show you how close we really are in Revelations and the return of our Messiah, and also identifying these people, their role, okay? Because unless you know who true Israel is, you will not understand end-time prophecy. And I would say even the Bible itself, once you go off on who the people are, because this is a book about Israel that was written to them. So if you don't know who they are, you're confused, everything else is going to be thrown off. So let's quickly go to Genesis. We're going to go to the beginning. Let's go to Genesis chapter 15. And you're definitely going to want to take notes and, write down some things. But let's go to Genesis chapter 15, and we're going to go to verse 13, okay? Genesis 15, verse 13. And Yah said to Abram, surely you must know that your seed will be a stranger or an alien. When it says alien, it means a stranger, okay? In a land not theirs, and they shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years. So make sure you highlight, underline, circle, they shall afflict them 400 years, because the 400 years is very important in understanding who Israel is today. So Yah told Abram, because he put him in a deep sleep. He was put in a deep sleep, and when Abram was put in this deep sleep, if you go up one verse to verse 12, it says that in verse 12, it says that when he fell asleep, that a terror of great darkness fell on him. So this was a terror of great darkness, what he was getting ready to experience. And when he was put in this deep sleep, it was told to him it says that know for certainty. So when it's being said know for surely, some of your scriptures may say surely or for certainty. That means this is going to happen. You can bet your bottom dollars that this is going to happen. Know for certain. There is no doubt about it, that your seed will be in a land. There will be strangers in a land that is not theirs, okay? And where they will be, Yah told them that they would be serving them, and it wouldn't be a righteous servitude, but he says that they will be afflicted for 400 years. So now, I'm just starting I'm telling you the end from the beginning. The so-called Negro, the black man, okay, we have been scattered to the four corners of the earth. But Judah, and I'm not saying all of those that are so-called African Americans are Judah, but the majority of Judah who came here, if your ancestors came here on slave ships, okay, you are the direct descendants of the children of Israel, because the main thing is, how did we get here? We did not come here on our own. We didn't come here on our own, okay? Our forefathers and ancestors were brought here on slave ships. And I know when I asked my father about it, he told me, and I would definitely love to get the copy of the from the family reunion that showed the lineage, and he said that we did come from the ships, that we were a part of the slave ships, a transatlantic slave ship. And I truly do believe that. The majority of my family on both sides are from the South, from Virginia to Alabama, North Carolina, all those areas down there, okay? And so, but again, we are the people, and I'm going to show you as I take you through, okay? And so, let's go to Exodus chapter 1, because a lot of people try to attribute the 400-year slavery and say, oh, well, that happened already. I want to show you that what is being told to Abraham in Genesis 15 and 13 is not something that has already occurred in Egypt, but this is something that a latter-day prophecy of what would happen to his seed, his people, in the end days, okay? And I want to show you that. So let's go to Exodus chapter 1. We're going to go to Exodus 1, and we're going to read verses 8 through 13, okay? Exodus 1, 8 through 13. So we know during this time, the children of Israel had to come to Egypt for food because there was a famine. Okay, and after Joseph's brothers sold him into slavery, Yah showed him favor, and he ended up, long story short, becoming governor, second in command under the Pharaoh at that time. And he brought his family there, and they lived, and they grew from there. And so they weren't being mistreated when they were brought there with Joseph, okay? They were being treated very well because Joseph saved Egypt, okay? He was the only one that could tell King Pharaoh at the time what his dreams meant. And once he told him what the dreams meant, he allowed them, through his vision that Yah had given to him, that they were saved from the famine. He was given a very high position, only second in command to Pharaoh, and everyone had to come to Joseph, okay? And so, again, but it says, if you look here, fast forward in Exodus 1 and 8, it says that a new king arose over Egypt who had not known Joseph. So now we have a new king, a new Pharaoh, who has arisen, or they say arose, and didn't know what Joseph had done, didn't know anything about how he saved Egypt, from the famine. And it didn't seem like he cared, because when you continue reading, it says after this new king who did not know Joseph had arose, it says, he said to his people, behold, the people of the sons of Israel are many and stronger than we. Come, let us deal craftily towards them, lest they multiply, and it shall be that when war occurs, they will also add to our enemies and will fight against us and go up from the land. And they put them over slave masters in order to afflict them with their burdens. And they built store cities for pharaohs, Pithon and Ramesses. And as they afflicted them so much, they multiplied so much. This scriptures is not, something is cut off here, so I apologize. Verse 12. And as much as they conflicted them, so much they multiplied, and so much they spread. And they were afraid before the sons of Israel. And Egypt made the sons of Israel to serve with harshness. So as you look at verse 12 and 13, it says that they were afflicted, okay, and the Egyptians, the new Pharaoh, made the sons of Israel to serve with harshness. So if you just look at this, just beginning at verse 8, it's telling you right off the bat, because the entire time that they were there, it was 430 years that they were there in Egypt. However, the whole 430 years was not the entire time that they were afflicted. So when people try to use Genesis 15 and 13 and say, oh, well, that's not a prophecy for end time, that happened when Israel was in Egypt, because they were in Egypt for 430 years. That's when they were afflicted, because it says they afflicted. Okay, but they weren't afflicted the entire time they was there. That's why it lets you know in Exodus 1 and 8 that a new king had arisen in Egypt who didn't know Joseph. And that's when things changed. They weren't being treated well anymore. Okay, so let's quickly go over to Exodus 12. Go over to Exodus 12, and we're going to read verse 40 and 41. Exodus 12, 40 and 41. Okay. And the time of the dwelling of the sons of Israel, which they dwelt in Egypt, was 430 years. So I just got finished telling you that, so I just wanted to show you that they dwelled with them for 430 years. And it says, and it happened from the end of the 430 years, as it happened on this day, all the armies of Yah went out from the land of Egypt. So we see here. So this verifies that yes, they were. So people say, aha, there we go. There's your prophecy from Genesis 15:13. There's a precept. No, that's not quite right. What I'm going to do right now, and some of you may not have this book, but you can just write this scripture down and you can go back. I'm going to be reading from the book of Jasher. And the book of Jasher is going to tell you exactly how long the children of Israel were in affliction or hard bondage or labor when they were in Egypt. And this is going to prove that, once again, that Genesis 15 and 13 is not referring to Egypt and has not already occurred, but this is a prophecy for the last time, the end of days, the times that we are in right now. Jasher chapter 81, verse 3, and the book of Jasher is also referred to as the book of the upright or the book of the just. For those of you who are saying, oh, she's reading from a book, that's not in the Bible. Actually, Jasher should be in there. The book of Jasher is referenced in Joshua 10 and 13, 2 Samuel 1 and 18, as well as 2 Timothy 3 and 8. So just wanted to throw that out there. So Jasher 81, verse 3. And the sojourning of the children of Israel who dwelt in the land of Egypt in hard labor was 210 years. I'm going to say this again. And the sojourning of the children of Israel who dwelt in the land of Egypt in hard labor was 210 years. And at the end of the 210 years, Yah brought forth the children of Israel from Egypt with a strong hand. So this right here is proof, Okay, this is the proof that I wanted to present to you guys, that the 400 out of the 430 years, only 220 years. For 220 years, that's what I want to say. 220 years, the children of Israel, they were in good standing and they were treated well when they were in Egypt. They were not in slavery. They were not in hard labor or bondage until, once again, the new Pharaoh arose. Once the new Pharaoh arose, as per Exodus 1 and 8, the one who did not know Joseph, that's when all of everything changed, okay? He did not know anything about Joseph. He didn't know what he had done for Egypt and how he saved them from the famine. He didn't know all of that. All he knew was these Israelites are growing. It's too many of them. They're going to outnumber us. He's afraid, and so now he's putting them under affliction and hard bondage and labor. And so, again, the book of Jasher 81:3 tells us that the sojourning of the children of Israel who dwelt in the land of Egypt in hard labor was 210 years. So for 220 years of those years, the children of Israel, they were in good standing for 220 years. So that does not that does not mean that Genesis 15:13 applies to this scripture. And so then going back to Genesis 15:13, it was prophesied that to our forefather Abraham that his people will be in slavery, meaning they will be in hard labor and bondage for 400 years. So when we go back to Deuteronomy 28, if you can quickly go to Deuteronomy 28, because I told you this is going to be quick. I'm not getting ready to go into a whole lesson on who is Israel. I've already told you that we are the people and we've been scattered to the four corners of the earth. Okay? When you go to the book of Deuteronomy 28, we're going to begin at verse 63 through 68. I just wanted to kind of clear that up first because I know there'll be people saying, oh, well, that's not a Genesis 15:13. That's not a prophecy for the end times. That happened when they were in slavery for 400 years in Egypt. Nope. So we've cleared that up. I hope you've taken notes. So if you do come across that, you know how to combat it. So going over to Deuteronomy 28, and we're going to begin at verse 63. Now, in Deuteronomy 28, this is the chapter, the entire chapter, where you will find the not only the blessings of but also the curses in Deuteronomy 28. And so we're going to begin at 63, and these are just some of the curses, some of the things that Yah said would happen to his chosen people during the end of days. And so let's begin at verse 63, and it says, and it shall be, as Yah rejoice over you to do you good and to multiply you, so Yah shall rejoice over you to destroy you and to lay you waste. And you shall be plucked from the land you are going to possess. And Yah shall scatter you among all people, from one end of the earth even to the other. And you shall serve other gods there, the gods of wood and stone. This is right here are the two major religions. The God of wood is the Christianity with the cross, and the God of stone is Islam. Okay, where they're always going over there kissing that wall. And so we're seeing Islam, Christianity, and Islam being prophesied in Deuteronomy 28. Majority of our people are either in Christianity or Muslims. Okay, and so Yah said that he was going to scatter us in verse 64 among all people. He says from one end of the earth even to the other. He says, and when you get to these other nations where I'm going to scatter you, he said, you're going to serve their gods there, the gods of wood and stone, the God of Christianity and Islam. He says, which you have not known. So we did not know anything about being a Christian or about being a Muslim until the Most High scattered us, because this was not our faith. Okay, we kept Torah. He says, which you have not known, nor your fathers. And among these nations, and if we go to verse 65, Yah said, when you get to these nations, he said, among these nations you shall find no ease. Since we have landed in America, our people, and specifically I'm talking to Judah, the so-called African American, our people, we have not had any ease since we have landed here in America. He says, nor shall the soles of your feet have rest, but Yah shall give you a trembling of heart and a failing of eyes and a sorrow of mind. Since we landed here, we have been afflicted. Our people were out doing hard labor and picking cotton. I mean, there's so many things that have happened to us as a nation of people here in America, all the blood that has been shed. Even till this day, where it says in verse 66, and he says, and your life shall be in doubt before you, and you shall fear day and night, and you shall have no assurance of your life. This is going on right now. This is a prophecy of what will happen to his true chosen people in the end days, and we see this going on right now. We have no ease in this land. We have to even teach our children, especially our boys, how to act around the police. They're killing our children dead in the street. I can't even think of all the names of our, from Eric Garner to Trayvon Martin. I mean, there's so many, Sandra Bland, that they have killed and they have gotten off. He says, your life shall be in doubt before you. You shall fear day and night, night and day. You shall have no assurance for your life. We have no assurance for our life when we as blacks walk out of our houses on a daily basis. There is no assurance. And so let's go to verse 67. In the morning you shall say, oh, I wish it was evening. And in the evening you will say, oh, I wish it was morning. He says, for the fear of your heart, with which you fear, and for the sight of your eyes, which you shall see. So because of the things that we as a nation of people would experience here, since we've been brought here, all the lynchings and the hangings and the horrendous things that have been done to our people, we have been walking in fear. And even when we haven't done anything wrong, if especially our black men, if the police is driving up behind you, you're automatically, your heart is faint. Your heart is beating and you're panting and you're scared because you don't know what they're going to do. They can pull you over and you can do everything right, and we have been seeing it, and it's happening now. They're shooting you dead even though you haven't done anything. And so he says, for the fear of your heart, which you shall fear, and for the sight of your eyes, the things that we have had to witness as a nation of people. Okay? But here is the key. Look at verse 68. And it says, and Yah shall bring you into Egypt again with ship. Now pay attention, it says again. Because our people, since we were taken from Israel, we have not returned back to Egypt. So what is he talking about? Is Yah talking about physical Egypt again? Because again means to do over, right? That means something, if you're doing it again, something had to have happened first, okay? So it's a repeat of something that has already occurred. So has Yah brought his people back? We have never been back, okay? And so he's not talking about physical Egypt, okay? When he talks about that he will bring us again into Egypt by ships, he's talking about a slavery or bondage, hard labor, and I'm going to show you that this is what it's talking about in a moment. I'm going to read a precept, okay? But he says, you shall be brought again into Egypt with ships, by way of which I said to you, you shall never see it again, and you shall be sold to your enemies there for male slaves and slave girls, and no one will buy you. So when he says you shall have no buyer, he means that no one will save you. No one is going to be able to save you. We have had many so-called black leaders, so-called black organizations, from the civil rights movement, which was started by the Rothschilds, and Black Lives Matter, and then we got Al Sharpton, Jesse Jackson, Martin Luther King, what is Farrakhan? We just don't have them all, okay? No one has been able to save the so-called black man, the so-called African American, okay? And even we see right now what Dr. Umar Johnson, what he's going through. The thing another sister and I was talking about earlier today is that we have a lot of leaders, so-called black leaders that are rising up, but the thing is they think that they will be able to save Yah's people. They don't, but because they are unbelievers, because Dr. Umar Johnson does not believe in the Bible. He thinks that it's a fairy tale. He doesn't believe in the Messiah. And so I'm not one of those people that just get ready to roll with you just because you're black. I'm not going to do that. I roll with those who serve our Abba Yah and have belief in our Master Yahshua. He's not going to care about the outward appearance or what color somebody. He is about a nation. He is about those who love him in spirit and truth, not just loving him, because you got the truth. Because and I was telling my sisters last night, there's many of our people who are awakened to the truth, who know that we are Israel. They know that we're the chosen people, but then they don't believe in the New Testament, or they don't believe in our Messiah, so they're not Messianic, or they don't believe that, or they believe that Joseph is the father. Foolishness. They have awakened, but they have not awakened to righteousness. So it's not going to be enough to serve Yah in truth. He says those who worship him must worship him in spirit and truth, not just knowing the truth of who you are, but by spirit. You can't just be baptized by water, but baptized by water and fire. What do I mean? I'm talking about being baptized by the Ruach HaKodesh, having the Ruach. He says he gives his Ruach to those who obey, those who walk in disbelief, because that is the reason why they're confused. That's the reason why they have no understanding. That's the reason why they're going out here teaching this damnable doctrine and trying to get people to reject the New Testament and to reject the fact that he said that he was that Yahshua was the only begotten Son of Yah, and how it would happen. It would not happen in a sexual way, but they want to try to attribute that is of the set-apart spirit. You want to attribute that to an earthly carnal man and say that he came from the seed of Joseph and that Joseph is his biological father, and that not only is he his biological father, but that the two of them fornicated and they slept together. I've heard all kind of foolishness. Like, you really think our Messiah is getting ready to come through that, okay? And so, not trying to get off into that, but getting back to what I was saying, we have had many leaders. He says no man going to buy you. This includes Dr. Umar Johnson. Right now in January, I don't know which day it is, but he has an upcoming court date. And with this court date, they're going to try to strip him of his license. And so he's fighting. He's going to have to fight this battle, but the thing is, he wouldn't have such this battle if he was not rejecting the law of Yah, if he was not rejecting our Abba Yah, if he was not rejecting the Messiah. And so, just like my sister was saying this morning, she and I was communicating about this. We have had many leaders that have arisen. They have great ideas, but without the Messiah, everything you do will come to naught. It will be all in vain. They think that they can save the so-called black man. I get what people say. He does have some phenomenal ideas, and he has done some great things. But Dr. Umar Johnson is not going to be able to save our people because Yah has already declared it. But again, he doesn't believe in the Bible. So I can't ride with nobody. I don't ride with you just because you black. If you are an enemy of our Messiah, you are an enemy to Yah, you're an enemy to me, and I can't roll with you. But our people, all we care about is somebody's skin color. It could be it could be an anti-Messiah. Oh, but I bet you if you knew what Satan looked like, if you thought he was black, you would be rolling with him too. Oh, he got some great ideas. That's what some of you will probably be saying. I can hear it now with some of you reprobates. It's not about skin color. It's about if you are worshiping him in spirit and truth. If you are someone, even if you are black, you got great ideas, but you are leading our people away from the truth and you're leading them away from the knowledge and having full knowledge of Yah and the fullness of who our Messiah is, I don't roll with you. Okay? I'm against you because you're against my Father, so I can't roll with him. Don't come leaving no angry posts on YouTube either, because it's the truth. So if you don't believe in the Bible, then I expect for you to put those things. But if you say you believe in the Bible and you are a follower of him, and then you should be rolling exactly with what I'm saying because it's scripture. But again, no man will buy you. No man can save you. Okay? And so Exodus 13:3 refers to Egypt as bondage or slavery. That's what it means. It's a house of bondage or slavery. So in Deuteronomy 28:68, when Yah says that he will bring you into Egypt again with ships, he's not talking about like before we were brought out. We were brought out by Moses and the sea was split and we were able to walk through. This time we're going back, but we're not going back to physical Egypt, but that place is synonymous with bondage, okay? Hard labor, slavery. So he was prophesying in Deuteronomy 28:68 that we would go back into hard labor and slavery and bondage, and we would serve our enemies, okay? And we would be slaves, and no one would be able to save us, okay? And he said, this time when you go back in slavery, it's going to be by way of ships. This happened to no other nation but to the so-called African Americans, and just as it was prophesied in Genesis 15:13 to Abraham that we would be in slavery for 400 years, so was the so-called African Americans during the transatlantic slave trade when we were brought over here in America. We were in slavery for 400 years. And if you go to Acts, quickly go to Acts, because I want to read Acts chapter 7 and 6, because I'm going to give you another precept that lines up with Genesis 15 and 13. And so this is just going to further prove, what I have been saying. Acts chapter 7 and 6, and it says, and Yah spoke this, and to his seed, let me repeat this again, Acts 7 and 6, and Yah spoke thus, that his seed would be an alien, or remember I told you this was the same language that was used in Genesis 15. They will be an alien, meaning they will be a stranger in another land, and they would enslave them and oppress it for 400 years. So you see Acts. So for those of you who claim you're Torah only and you don't believe in the New Testament is false, why is the New Testament lining up and saying the same thing that's in Genesis 15 and 13, lining up with that as well as Deuteronomy 28:68. How many of you knew this was in here? It's saying this, Paul is saying the same thing. This is Paul speaking, saying what Yah had said, that his seed would be a stranger, an alien in another land, and they would enslave them and would oppress them for 400 years. Clearly, this was not what happened in Egypt, because remember what happened in Egypt. Remember when I read the book of Jasher, they were in good standing with them for 220 years out of the 430 years that they were over there in Egypt. So we got to learn how to study, and we have to learn how to line up precepts so that we can get full understanding of things. Too many of our people, we regurgitate what we hear someone else saying. We don't follow up and line up precepts to see if what is being taught to is true. Okay? So again, Genesis 15 and 13 says, and he said to Abram, surely you must know or be for certainty that your seed will be a stranger or alien in a land that is not theirs, and they will serve them 400 and afflict them. And it says not just serve them, but afflict them for 400 years. Same thing with Acts 7 and 6 just said. And both of these scriptures line up with Deuteronomy 28 and verse 68 with the slavery that we would go back into. This happened to none other than the so-called African American. No other nation of people can declare that they were stripped off of their land and taken to another land and served them for 400 years. No other nation can claim that. No one. That happened to us. And we have the history. Even if you don't believe in the Bible, the history proves this, okay? And I don't know how anyone cannot believe in the Bible when the Bible is proving prophecy and fulfilling prophecy every single day. But again, in Exodus 19, verse 3 through 8, our people, we made a covenant. And I'm talking to my so-called African Americans because we are Judah. We come from the same tribe as our Messiah. We have a role. We are the leading tribe. Understand that your forefathers made a covenant, okay, with the Most High Yah. And we stood before him, and Yah gave the commandments, and Moses gave it to him, and they agreed as a nation of people. All that Yah has said we will do, meaning whatever his stipulations, his commandments, laws, statutes, judgments, we will follow them. All that Yah has said, whatever it is he's told us to do, we will obey it, meaning we will do it. We entered into a marriage covenant, just as if a husband and a wife, they stand before witnesses, and you promise and love that you will love and cherish and obey and take care and provide and protect, and both parties say their vows, and then you say, I do, your I do. That was what Israel did when they entered into the covenant. When they said all that Yah has said we will do, that was their I do, okay? And so, but we did not do what we said we were going to do. We stepped away from the covenant. We didn't keep his laws, his statutes, his judgments. And we recently had a lesson on that about 3 weeks ago. Go back in and check it out. It's called The Judgments of Yah. A very good lesson, especially for those of you who are new, okay? And so we broke his commandments over and over and over and over again. And so eventually Yah said, you know what? He divorced the northern kingdom, okay? He divorced them, and they were scattered, and they became known as the 10 lost tribes, okay? The house of Ephraim. And then the southern kingdom, which is comprised of Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, they became known as the southern kingdom. But we all 12 tribes were scattered for their disobedience. But he did not divorce the southern kingdom. He did not divorce Judah. He only divorced the 10 northern tribes, and this is why they became lost, and they're the very reason, because of the covenant that Yah made with Abraham. He remembered it, and he sent his son, and that's why when Yahshua came, he said, I come not but for the lost sheep of the house of Israel. He was coming back to claim those sheep and to find those lost sheep, okay? And this was the reason for much of his ministry as well as Paul's. And those who were the disciples with him, these were those that were from the house of Judah, from Judah, Benjamin, and Levi that were with him. Okay, if you want to find out who the Gentiles are and who these New Testament grafted in, go check out our, it's a 3-part series, Who Are the Gentiles? You'll find out that in particular. If you already know where Israel, go to part 2 of 3 to find out who is truly being grafted in. Okay, it's too much for me to just talk about it now. But again, we made a covenant with Yah in Exodus 19, 3 through 9. We broke that covenant, and that led to our captivity over here in America. This is how we ended up over here because of our disobedience. And he laid before us in Deuteronomy 28 blessings and curses. The first 13 verses talk about all the blessings if we obeyed his commandments and kept his word. But however, if we broke it, the remaining chapter talks about the curses. Unfortunately, we're here in America, so we did not keep the commandments. That's how we got over here, because our forefathers were shipped over here via the ships, as Yah said, to be in slavery. Okay, and we were in slavery over here in America for 400 years. And 2019, which is coming up in 1 year, will conclude our 400-year, where the last of Judah, who came via the transatlantic slave trade in Jamestown, Virginia, in 1619. And so just quickly revisiting the meaning of 70 from last week and why the entire world is in an uproar about Trump declaring Jerusalem the capital of Israel, and, and then thus moving the U.S. Embassy there. Remember, we talked about our last teaching that 70 means the restoration or the restoration of all things. And so those pretenders have been in our land for almost 70 years, okay? And if you go back and check out our last teaching, our 127 teaching, we talked about it in the beginning of that teaching, 127, which was Be Not Many Teachers. We talked about the meaning of 70, and again, it means a restoration or a restoration of all things. And I gave numerous scriptures where 70 and wherever 70 was at the end of that 70th year, whether we were in captivity, whether he had 70 elders to perform, but it was always a restoration that concluded the end of the 70th year. There was some type of restoration that occurred. And so those pretending, those who have been pretending that, that they're Israel over in our land, they have been doing this for almost 70 years again. But they don't fit. That's the thing. They don't fit the scriptural curses of Deuteronomy 28 or the signs that Yah declared would be on his chosen people in the last days. In Deuteronomy 28, verse 46, if you look at verse 46, it states, and that these curses, it says, shall be on you for a sign and for a wonder, and on your seed forever. So he said this will be a sign that will be on us and a wonder that will be on us forever. So as we talk about the sign of the times or the last days or the end times, Yah told us all of the signs that would occur or that would come on his people. He said not only would they come on his people, but they will overtake his people in Deuteronomy 28. And so as we read Deuteronomy 30, if you could just quickly go to Deuteronomy 30, verse 1 through 8, you will find that Yah has not only declared the end from the beginning, but he has also declared how his people will not only return, but also come back into the remembrance of who they were, as well as their return to the covenant. And so, because again, when you subtract 1948 from 2018, you get 70, okay? And in 1 year from now, we will be at the conclusion of our 400-year prophecy as per Acts 7 and Genesis 15:13 and Deuteronomy 28, verse 68. And we're waiting for a restoration because we know this is what his word is true, okay? And so let's quickly go to Deuteronomy 30. We're going to read verse 1 through 8. Deuteronomy 30, verse 8. And it shall be when all these things have come on you, he's talking about the curses, okay, the blessings and the curses, which I have set before you among all nations, where Yah your Most High shall banish you. See, he banished us. He scattered us. Wherever he scattered, he says, you shall bring these things back to your heart. So it's going to be a time when you look at scriptures like Genesis 15 and 13 and scriptures like Deuteronomy 28, verse 68, you can be like, oh, my goodness, this is me. He's telling you right here. Let's read this again. And it shall be when all these things have come on you, the blessings and the curse, which I have set before you among all the nations, where Yah your Most High shall banish you, You shall bring these things back to your heart, and you shall turn back to Yah, your Most High, and listen to his voice, according to all that I am commanding you today, you and your sons with all your heart and with all your soul. So this is fulfilling right now as the awakening is happening. And as many of us are reading these curses, and we're reading the scriptures and the precepts that line up with the curses of Deuteronomy 28, and we're reading this and we're like, wow, this is me. It's all starting to come back now. He's telling you that this will be brought back to your remembrance. When you read these blessings and these curses, you're going to be like, aha, this is me. Let's go to verse 3. And then Yah, your Most High, will turn your captivity, and he will have pity on you, and will return and gather you from all the nations where Yah, your Most High, has scattered you. And you are cast out to the ends of the heavens. Yah, your Most High, shall gather you from there, and he shall take you from there. See, this is what a lot of our people, we want to go move to new countries and leave, trying to escape what you think is getting ready to happen here in Babylon. But Yah has already told you that he is going to do it. He is the one that scatters, and he says that I will regather and I will return you. He never told us to leave on our own. But many of you are being disobedient by doing that. Because if he has put you on punishment, that's just like if I put my son on punishment and I'm banishing him to his room, and then he decides, well, I want to come out, and I come home, and then he outside playing, and I don't told him that your punishment is in your room. Well, I want to have it in the, I want to go outside and play, or I want to go to the living room. I don't want to have it in my room. Now you getting ready to be in more punishment and get a spanking because I done already told you where your punishment is to be. But you're going to tell me, well, I want to go here. Many of you are doing the same thing. Likewise, you're doing the same thing. Yah has already told you where your punishment is. He has scattered you there. So you can't leave where he's told you to go, when he's already told you, this is where I want you. So when Yah, your Most High, will turn your captivity, and he will have pity on you, and will return and gather you from all the nations where Yah has scattered you. Now, he scattered you to wherever he scattered you. He didn't tell you to go move to another country. He's saying, look, wherever I scattered you, that's where I'm going to gather you. He says, and if you are cast out to the end of the heavens, Yah, your Most High, shall gather you from there and shall take you from there. And Yah, your Most High, shall bring you into the land which your fathers have possessed, and you shall inherit it. And he shall do good and multiply you above your fathers. And Yah, your Most High, will circumcise your heart, the heart of your seed, to love Yah, your Most High, with all your heart and with all your soul, and you may live. And Yah, your Most High, will put all these curses on your enemies and on all those that hate you, who have persecuted you. So we're saying right here, he's telling you, I am going to pay recompense to those that trouble you. He is going to repay. It's not our job to go around hating a white man and hating other nations when he has already told us that he will repay, okay? And you shall return and obey the voice of Yah and do all his commandments, which I am commanding you today. So we see it right here. Again, I ask you, why are they scared? Why are they scared? Why are the Psalms 83 nations scared? Why are the nations terrified at well, not the U.S., well, they're terrified at what Trump is getting ready to do, but why are they terrified at the true Israelites waking up and returning back to the covenant? Because we notice that they're trying to taint and spoil the awakening by having agents, amongst Israel, agents coming in and teaching damnable and false doctrine, trying to lead us astray. They try to put out false movies about the Israelites so that everybody can think we're in a cult. This is not a cult. This is not a religion. This is about a nation of people that he chose, a nation of people that the world has not only hated but persecuted and afflicted and did more than what they were supposed to do. And so, again, why are the nations terrified at us waking up and returning back to the covenant? And when people say, oh, it doesn't matter who Israel, it doesn't. Well, if it doesn't matter, then why are they spending so much time trying to prove the truth to be a lie when it's true that we are the chosen people? Why are they spending so much time trying to use false preachers like T.D. Fake and Joyce Lyer and Creflo Dollar and all these false prophets, Eddie Long, who's no longer with us? Why is he trying? Why are they paying all these people to teach us lies, to continue to tell us that we're Gentiles when we're the chosen people? If it doesn't matter who the people are, you know, it's funny how it doesn't matter who the people are until you find out that it's the so-called black man. Then all of a sudden it doesn't matter anymore. It's funny. But again, why are the nations, the Psalms 83 nations, why are they terrified at us waking up? Why are they terrified, the entire world, at us returning back to the covenant? Well, one thing, they know what Yah's word has said about the restoration of his people. We just got finished reading it. And if there is a restoration that takes place, then it would only be natural that there will be a removing. Again, I'm going to repeat. They are afraid because they know that when there is a return and restoration of a nation of people, that automatically means that there will be a removal of a people, a removal of another nation, a nation who are not a people. And so with Trump's decision, in his decision to declare Jerusalem as the capital of Israel and to move the U.S. embassy there, the world leaders, including Palestine, the Pope, and China, and Iran, Russia, and all these world leaders, they are basically saying that Trump's decision will pretty much be claiming a world war, and not just a world war, but their claim is that it will be a war against 1.5 billion Muslims, okay? Now, it's interesting how many people who are not the people, and we know our Messiah, he was Hebrew, he was not Muslim, but they feel that they have claim, that they have right to that land. Okay, many of them because they believe that because their forefather was Abraham. Abraham was a Hebrew, but he was the father of many nations, but only through Isaac and Jacob. And through Jacob, the 12 tribes would the nation of Israel be born, okay? And his mother was Hagar. That's what I call them, the Hagarites, who was an Egyptian slave, okay? But she was a woman under bondage, okay? And so Jerusalem is precious. This is the reason why they're fighting. Jerusalem is precious to many, again, that have no rightful claim to this land. But what does Scripture tell us? Let's go to quickly go to Isaiah. Quickly go to Isaiah chapter 8. And we're going to read verses 12 through 16. Isaiah chapter 8, verses 12 through 16. And do not say a conspiracy to everything of which this people says is a conspiracy. So y'all saying, look, don't say this is a conspiracy, because this ain't no conspiracy, okay? He says, and do not fear its fear, and do not dread. Sanctify Yah hosts. And he's talking, this is Isaiah he's talking to. And let him be your fear. Let him be your dread. And he shall be for a sanctuary Okay, we know that Jerusalem is a sanctuary for many. He said, it shall be for a stone of a stumbling and a rock of offense to the two houses of Israel. Who are the two houses of Israel? The house of Ephraim, and which includes the 10 lost tribes, and the house of Judah, the two houses. So he says that it will be a sanctuary, and it will be a stone of a stumbling and a rock of offense, okay, to the two houses of Israel, and for a trap and a snare to the ones that will be living in Jerusalem. We know that Jerusalem is a snare and a trap. It's a stumbling block for many that are dwelling there. Verse 15 says, and many among them shall stumble and fall and be broken and be snared and be taken. And then he tells the prophet Isaiah, he says, bind up the testimony and seal the Torah among my disciples. Jerusalem has become a sanctuary, a place of safety for many. Okay? For many, those of Israel who are blind and walking in disbelief, as well as those who are dwelling in the land. Okay? And so this is why we see so much fighting going on over there, because the Israelis, and I'm calling them Israelis because they're not Israel, they call themselves Israelis. The Israelis, a.k.a. the Ashkenazi Jews, okay, who got over there in 1948, the Israelis and the Arabs, who are the Muslims over there in Palestine, even there, and we're going to listen to a clip of a black Palestine that lived there, they all hold claim to this land as having some type of significant meaning to them. And so this is why we are seeing all the fighting there. The Muslims are holding on, and they're saying East Jerusalem is their capital, and then Israel saying that Jerusalem is their capital. You know, and it's kind of like with Trump declaring that he's going to make Jerusalem the capital of Israel, that's taking it away from the Arabs in Palestine, the Muslims. So this is why you see the fighting that's going on over there. Okay? And so let's bring this all back home, because I told you the route that I was taking today. Let's go to Psalms 83. Quickly go to Psalms 83. Because Psalms 83 is one of the most mistaught prophetic messages by scholars. And this is because many of them do not, as I said earlier, they do not know who true Israel really is. And so, many like to conclude that Psalms 83 is talking about the Arab Israeli and who the people acknowledge as the Jews, but the world, and they are mentioned there as those of taking a covenant, but the world, more particularly, the world leaders, they know who. This is the thing: they know who the true Israelites are. Now, there are a lot of Jews who are blind and they are deceived into thinking, just like we were deceived into thinking that we were Christians, that we were African Americans, that we were born here, that this was. No, we were deceived in that too. And there are some that are deceived. But the world, again, but more particularly the world leaders, they know who true Israel is. They know who the true Israelites are. We're just the only ones that didn't get the memo, okay? When you go to Psalms 83, all the world leaders, all of them, they know who we are. They've been knowing who we are. We're the only ones, because of what was done in Psalms 83, that didn't get the memo, that don't know. Everyone knows but you, so-called African American. But nevertheless, as it pertains to the Middle East, the stage appears to be set for the fulfillment of prophecy. And so while the majority of the world and so-called, what you want to call them, top Bible scholars or experts, while they're focusing on and predicting that Russia and Iran and Turkey and Libya and other countries are going to invade Israel according to prophecy and Ezekiel 38, unfortunately, many of them have taken their eyes off of Psalms 83. And they're taking their eyes off of Psalms 83 and the wicked covenant that many of these nations, including the two that are fighting right now over Jerusalem, the Arabs and the Israelis, the Ashkenazi Jews. These are two of the nations that are fighting over Jerusalem right now. This is the reason why you have the uproar over what Trump is going to do. But again, the world has taken their eyes off of this wicked and crafty covenant. And as our forefather David describes it in Psalms 83, many have forgotten what they have done to Yah's true chosen ones and the punishment that he has declared that will happen to these nations in the end time for the things that they have done. And so when we go to Psalms 83, we're going to find the identity of these people who are all fighting right now over land that they entered into a crafty covenant with all the other heathen nations to not only take our land as a possession for themselves, but also they did their diligence to not only erase our history, but to make certain that the name of Israel, true Israel, will never be remembered again. Now, y'all, we getting ready to get into some deep stuff. So let's go to Psalms 83. We're going to read the entire chapter. It's not long, but let's go to Psalms 83. Okay, and yeah, put this up. So Psalms 83. We're going to begin at verse 1. Oh Yah, do not, and this is our forefather David that's speaking and crying out to Yah. He says, "Oh Yah, do not keep silent to yourself. Do not be speechless. Yes, do not be still, O Yah, for lo, your enemies are roaring, and those who hate you have lifted up their heads. They have taken crafty counsel against your people." Okay? They have plotted against your hidden ones. Now, why is it talking about the hidden? See, we are referred to his true Israel, especially the so-called African Americans. We are we refer to as the hidden ones because no one. This is the greatest secret in the world, that we are the chosen people, the ones that the world has hated the most and afflicted the most and oppressed the most and spilled the most blood of any nation of people. It says that he said they have taken crafty counsel. He said they have plotted against your hidden ones. They're hidden because people don't know who they are. Well, they're hidden to the world, but the world leaders know who we are. In Psalms 83, verse 4, he says, they have said, come, and we will cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel will no more be in remembrance, meaning you will no longer know who these people are. We're going to cut them off from being a nation of people. This is what they did to us when we came over here in slavery. Many people don't want to acknowledge, and they say it's a fake letter, the Willie Lynch. Nevertheless, whether you believe it's fake or true, everything that's being spoken of in it has come to pass. We are no longer, if you erase a nation's people's history of who they are, and you replace it with something else. We were not Christians. We did not speak English. We spoke Hebrew. We kept Torah. This celebrating Christmas and Easter and holidays and birthday, those were not our culture. The heathens did that. Once you cut off a nation of people and of having knowledge, and then those people die off and they have children, who's going to carry on their inheritance? We no longer had an inheritance to carry on. We carried on the inheritance of our slave masters. But let's keep reading. But David said they took crafty counsel and said, Come, let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel will be no more in remembrance. He says in verse 5, for they have consulted together with one heart. They have all conspired together on one accord. And he says they have cut a covenant against you. They all these, and it's going to tell you in a minute, all the nations in verse 6 through 8, it's going to tell you, and it's going to list all of the nations that took part in the covenant, that they will all agree, making a treaty, making an agreement, that we're going to make sure that we keep them from knowing that they are Israel. We're going to all agree together. Okay? Verse 6, even the tents of Edom and the Ishmaelites and Moab and the Hagarites, Gebal, Ammon, Amalek, Philistia, which is Philistines, and those living in Tyre. Also, Assyria has joined with them. They were an arm to the sons of Lot. So who are all these ancient nations that are being spoken of? Okay? When we read verse 6 through 8, these are the modern nations of Saudi Arabia, Jordan, Turkey, the Philistines, Iraq, Iran, Syria, and Lebanon. So the ancient name, Assur, that's modern-day Germany. The Assyrians, okay? That's Germany. And he says that Germany, when you look at verse 8, it says that they were an arm, meaning a stronghold, with the sons of Lot, okay? Edom and Amalek, that's Turkey. That's modern-day Turkey. The Ishmaelites, those are modern-day Arabs, Saudi Arabia and other neighboring nations, okay? Moab and Ammon, that's Jordan, modern-day Jordan. The Hagarites, that's from Hagar, okay? That's modern-day Syria. Notice how the wars and the rumors of wars have been coming from these nations, okay? Notice how when we read verses 6 through 8, I'm going to keep reading, but notice how the two nations that are over there arguing right now, these are the same ones who enter into this covenant. Isn't that ironic? They're part of the Psalms 83 nation. The Arabs and the over there in Palestine, the Muslims, along with those that are inhabiting Israel, the fake Jews, not the real ones over there, the Ashkenaz. Okay? Same thing. So let's continue reading. I want to go down. Let's go down to verse 12. It says, they have said, let us take possession of Yah's pasture for ourselves. They have said, let us take possession of Yah's pasture for ourselves. This is going to be our land. We're going to all come together and create a covenant that we will cut the true Israel off from being a nation, that their name will be no more remembrance. We're going to cut a covenant, an agreement, and we're going to take Yah's possession, his inheritance, his land, we're going to take it for ourselves. Do you see this? This is why they're over there fighting. For those of you who didn't know, this is the reason why they're fighting. I'm not done. Let's go to Ezekiel 36. Because in Ezekiel 36, Yah has promised to recompense, meaning to repay judgment to those who would trouble us. So as we go to Ezekiel 36, we will find that it is here that Yah declares repayment, judgment on these nations that have not only polluted, but dwelled in Jerusalem, the land of Israel. and this is end time, what we're getting ready to read. Yah has declared that he will repay the enemies of Israel for their mistreatment, and then he says that he's going to cleanse the land and he's going to return us back. So let's read Ezekiel 36, okay? Ezekiel 36, verse 1. And you, son of man, prophesy to Israel's mountains and say, O mountain of Israel, hear the word of Yah. So says the Most High Yah, because the enemy has spoken against you, saying, Aha, everlasting heights has become a possession to us. So prophesy and say, so says Most High Yah, because of the wasting and the crushing of you from all around, that you might be a possession to the rest of the nations, and you ascended on the tip of the tongue and the whispering of the people. Therefore, mountains of Israel, hear the word of the Most High Yah. So says the Most High Yah to the mountains and to the hills, and to the ravines and to the valleys, and to the wastes of desolation, and to the forsaken cities, which have become a prey and a mocking to the rest of the nations all around. So says the Most High Yah, surely I have spoken in the fire of my jealousy against the rest of the nations and against Edom. Okay, Edom was listed in Psalms 83. And all of those of her who have given my land for themselves as a possession, with all joy of their heart, with scorning of souls, in order to make it open land for prey. So prophesy concerning the land of Israel, and say to the mountains and to the hills, to the ravines and to the valleys, so says the Most High Yah, behold, I have spoken in my jealousy and in my fury, because you have borne the shame of the nations. So says the Most High Yah, I have lifted up my hand. Surely the nations that surround you, they shall bear their shame. But you, O mountains of Israel, you shall put out your branches and your fruit. You shall bear for my people Israel, for they are drawing near to come. It's almost time for us to come back. He's talking to the land. For behold, I am for you, and I will turn to you, and you shall be tilled and sown, and I will multiply men on you, all the house of Israel, all of it, and the city shall be inhabited, and the waste shall be built. And I will multiply men on you and beasts, and they will increase and be fruitful, and I will make you dwell as you formerly were. Israel is not like it used to be. It says all of creation is waiting for true Israel to come back to the land. All of creation is groaning for Israel to return back. He says, I will make you dwell as you formerly were, and I will do better than at your beginning. Meaning you're going to be better than you were at first. And you shall know that I am Yah. Yea, I will cause men to walk on you, my people Israel, and they shall possess you, and you will be an inheritance to them, and will not any more increase their bereavement. So says the Most High Yah, because they said to you, you are a devourer of men, and you have bereaved your nations. So you shall no longer devour men, and you shall not make your nations fall any more, declares the Most High Yah. Remember we read earlier in Isaiah, he said that there will be a rock of offense is a rock of falling, a stumbling block. He says, I will not let you bear the shame of the nations any longer. You shall not bear the disgrace of the people anymore. Israel is bearing the disgrace of these people that are over there and trampling on the land and fighting. He says, you will not bear the disgrace of the people anymore, and you shall not cause your nations to fall anymore, says the Most High Yah. And the word of Yah was saying to me, Son of man, when the house of Israel dwelt on their land, They even defiled it in their ways and by their doings, and after the defilement of the women's impurity, their way was before me. See, he's allowing this because of what our people did, because we stepped away from the law. That's why they're over there dwelling in the land, profaning it now. He said, I poured out my fury on them because of the blood that they had poured out on the land and for the idols by which they defiled it. He said, I scattered them among the nations. Who did he scatter? His chosen people that he sent into slavery for 400 years. He says they were sown among all the earth. He said, I judged them by their way and by their doings. And when they enter into the nations, there where they went, he said, they even profaned my set-apart name. And by saying to them, these are the people of Yah, and they are gone out of his land. But I had pity for my set-apart name, which the house of Israel had profaned among the nations, there where they went. Therefore says the house of Israel, so says Yah, I do not do this for your sake, O house of Israel, but only for my set-apart name, which you profane among the nations, there where you went. I will sanctify my great name, which was profane among the nations, which you profane among them. And the nations shall know that I am Yah, declares the Most High, when I am sanctified in you and in their eyes. We will once again, Israel, be sanctified, and the nations will know who we serve. He says in Ezekiel 36, verse 24, for I will take you from the nations and gather you out of all the lands. Hallelujah. And I will bring you into your land. He says, then I will sprinkle pure water on you, and you shall be purified. I will cleanse you from all of your defilements and from all of your idols. He says, and then I will give you a new heart, and I will put a new spirit within you, and I will take away the stony heart out of your flesh, and I will give to you a heart of flesh, and I will put my spirit within you, and I will cause you to walk in my statutes, and you shall keep my judgments and do them. And then you shall dwell in the land that I gave to your fathers, and you shall be a people to me, and I will be a power most high to you. I also will save you from all of your defilements, and I will call for grain and increase it, and I will not put a famine on you. Do you understand I'm going to stop here. What's happening? What Yah has declared that he is going to do in Ezekiel 36. That he is going to repay judgment to those who troubled us. And he's going to cleanse the land and cleanse us up and put us back in the land, restore Israel, and make it better than what it was. This is the judgment for the Psalms 83 nations that gathered themselves to take our land as a possession. They're over there for a reason, because we stepped away. Luke 21, verse 24 says that Jerusalem shall be trodden down by the Gentiles until the fullness of the Gentiles, meaning those Israelite strangers, will be fulfilled. Jerusalem is right now being trodden down by Gentile heathen nations. And it's going to happen until the fullness of the Gentiles, meaning the Israelite strangers, be fulfilled. That is, we are coming close to that. Revelations 11:2 says, but exclude the courtyard outside the temple. Do not measure it, because it has been given over to the nations. And they will trample the set-apart city for 42 months. That's 3.5 years. And so there will be no peace in Israel. You heard Trump in the audio clip that we played, and they're talking about peace, and he's going to start. There will be no peace in Israel, even though they're claiming that his decision they're saying his decision will not broker peace between Israel and Palestine. They think that he's thinking that I'm going to make sure that I come up with a decision that's going to be peaceful for both sides. Again, there will be no peace. As long as these Gentiles, these heathen Gentile nations are trampling down our set-apart city, there will never be peace. And again, there's no such thing as peace. Okay? There's no such thing as, not saying there's no such thing as peace. There's no such thing as world peace. What did Yahshua say? He says, in the world we will find tribulation, but our peace, he says, is in him. That's John 16:33. He said, you will find tribulation in the world, but your peace is in him. There is no such thing as world peace. There will never be world peace. We have not had world peace since the world has been created, since the fall of mankind. He told you in John 16:33 that in the world you will find tribulation. That's exactly what we have going on. But he says your peace is in him. So for those of you who think you've come into the truth that you Israel, but you have rejected our Messiah and you are non-Messianic, you are still in the world. You will not have any peace. So I'm going to play this first clip. And we're going to come back because in this first clip that you're getting ready to listen to, the Arab leaders recently got together. Okay, this has happened within the last 2 weeks. This is like very recent. They got together in light of Donald Trump declaring that Jerusalem will be the capital of Israel and not Palestine. Remember, they're sharing this right now. Jerusalem, I told you, is a safe place for the Israeli Ashkenazi Jews as well as those Muslims, Arabs over in Palestine. Okay, and so they both hold Jerusalem very dear. And so for Trump to say he is going to make Jerusalem the capital of Israel, that's as if he is taking sides, they say, with the Jews, and they're being left out, and they feel they have claim to that land because of their forefather Abraham, okay, who was the father of many nations. And so they're upset because of what Donald Trump has done. So they have decided, since Donald Trump, remember, these Arab leaders, they were a part, and I just read the nations, and I told you who the modern nations are from those ancient Israelite nations, those ancient nations that were mentioned in Psalms 83. I show you that the Arabs, the Ishmael, okay, as well as the Hagarites, they took part of that Psalms 83 crafty covenant against the children of Israel. And so they have been knowing who we are, and now, and it's been kept a secret, but now that Trump has pretty much in their eyes chosen Israel, okay, because he's going to declare Jerusalem the capital of Israel, they're upset. So they're pretty much breaking the covenant now. So let's listen to this clip and this confession from the Arab leaders that the so-called black man is true Israel, and they're basically, and what you're going to hear is send a letter to a black pastor and let them know that these people over here that's claiming to be Jews, meaning claiming to be Judah, because there are 12 tribes. There's no such thing as Jews. Yah never referred to his people as Jews. Judah is only one of the 12 tribes, and it's the fourth tribe, the leading tribe from which our Messiah came through, Yahshua. And so they're upset. So since they said, oh, now you're going to choose the Jews and to give Jerusalem to them and take it away from us, and they feel they hold claim. Because I believe, just since the whole thing, what happened with Abraham and Hagar, they still are sore about what happened when Ishmael and his mom was sent away. But he still promised that they will be a mighty nation. He had compassion on them. So they feel they have claim to Jerusalem as well. And so they're upset, and so they say, "Oh, you're gonna give it to the Jews." And so, see here, they're trying to cut me off. But we see now, since they're upset, and see, I guess it's getting too hot. We see now that because they are upset that they feel like Trump is taking sides, they're like, oh, you going to try to give Jerusalem to the Ashkenazi Jews and take it away from us? Oh, okay, we got you. We're getting ready to hook y'all up. We're getting ready to send a letter to the true Jews and let them know that they the chosen people and that these people over here are fake and they don't hold claim. See, they've been knowing, Prina, you know what I'm saying? For the longest, they've been knowing that we're the people.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They've been knowing this. But they want to wait until they feel like something is being taken away from them. Now, all of a sudden, they want to break that covenant. So let's listen to this clip, and we will be right back.
It begins. Now, last night, the leaders of the Arab world had a meeting in Egypt. Did y'all see that on our news? All the Arab leaders got together in Egypt to talk about what they're going to do about them recognizing Jerusalem as the capital. Pike said the last war would be between the Zionists and the Muslim world. All right? This is where we at. This is where we at. Y'all still up out there? All right? It's so bad, we received a letter. Philadelphia received a letter from the Islamic leaders. I don't know why, Keith. They must know we crazy over here. You understand what I'm saying? So we receive a letter. Now, this is going to blow your mind, all right? Because James, am I lying? All right, we receive a letter. Now, let me show you a copy of the letter. We receive it in English, and we also received it in Arabic. Amen? And they are burnt about this recognition of Jerusalem. Now, why they done said that to me, I don't know. A lot of people going to be watching me. You're going to see all kind of people at the game today. Go whosoever. In the world they going to send that to me for? But they watching you, Israel. They watching you. You got time clock. They watching you. Because your motions, your movements, your ascent, your rise, your prosperity, show the world where we at right now. They wrote us. Now look what they say in the letter, right? All right? Go to the next clip. Look what they say. Hallelujah. This is where it's from. The Sayyid Abdul Hadi, the administrative trustee, the global guardians of the Al-Aqsa. You know what I'm saying? The Dome of the Rock and stuff like that. They guardians of it. And they writing us at Philly and they telling us, Washington cannot broker peace negotiations on behalf of the Palestinian and the Jerusalemite family. They can't broker peace negotiations between the Palestinians and with the 13th Jewish tribe of European Ashkenazi Khazars, who, contrary to Nikki Haley, who is our UN ambassador, she asserted at the United Nations today, amen, they're saying that contrary to what she said, this 13th tribe, these European Ashkenazi Khazarians, do not carry any biological lineage to the original black-brown 12 tribes of the Hebrew. You're the only one that don't know who you are. The rest of the world knows who you are. See, these people have no biological lineage. This is why the UN, time after time, say, you don't got nothing to do with this city and nothing to do with this country. And they get mad. The UN is somehow against Israel. No, they're not against the real Israel. They're against the fake one. That's what these people wrote to us, man. No lineage to the original black-brown 12 tribes of Hebrew Israelites. Nor can they trace any historical relation to Jerusalem or Palestine. You're the only one don't know who you are, Hebrew. It's time to wake up. Time to wake up. Time to wake up. That brown skin you got is not a curse, it's a blessing. That woolly hair you got is not a curse, it's a blessing. It identifies you, and God has set a seal of love upon you. Know who you are, and know whose you are. The rest of the world knows. The rest of the world knows. Only we who are asleep and slumber in America don't know. The beginning of the end. And they done put their hands on the accursed thing. It's the beginning of the end.
Simply amazing, brothers and sisters. Did y'all see that? These Arab folks, they always knew who the true children of Israel are. They knew also that the 12 tribes are Negroes. So these camps can get out of here with this fake 12 tribe chart.
Prina.
Yeah.
Prina, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, what did you think about that?
I when I was listening to it, I was chuckling to myself because it's just like it's just like a deal going bad.
You're pretty much that's what it is. That's what it is.
Yeah. You didn't keep your deal, so now I'm about to expose your dirty laundry. Payback is you know, payback. It's payback time.
Yes, yeah, pretty much. That's pretty much.
So in a nutshell, it's payback time, and because they didn't keep they ended the deal, and so they feel like Trump is underhanding them and not letting them keep that land, because they've been there all that time. So now they pissed off, and so now they saying, okay, I'm about to expose you.
Because they've been knowing, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, they've been knowing. They've been Egyptian, I think it was an Egyptian prime minister, one of your lessons you did with the
yeah, I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about that. Yeah.
You came back white.
Yeah, he's like, I can't accept you. Yeah, he's like, I can't accept you. Yeah, that's. I mean, they've been like I said, all the other nations know who we are. And just like the pastor just said, the black pastor, he's a black Christian pastor, but he teaches his congregation in Israel. He said, everybody know but you, only the ones that still sleep in America, the ones we be trying to wake up all the time, and they don't want. That's why I'm saying this teaching is going to be monumental and get us out here for all of our people to hear it, because we need if they don't believe us, listen to the world leader. This is world, like this was on the news. Okay, this past week, they're telling you. All the other nations are telling. Like, what is it that you need? But we're gonna listen to another clip. This clip is a black Palestine. He's actually over there. His people were their originals. Okay, that have been there for thousands of years, and he's also being called like their native name for nigger over there, and let's listen to his testimony, and then we'll be back and discuss it.
Okay.
There are a remnant of black Israelites that are called Palestinians that dwell in that land as we speak. So it says, and thou shalt come up against my people Israel. That is the remnant of the black so-called Palestinians, which are really black Israelites that dwell in the land.
The African presence is still visible in Israel today. There are thousands of African Palestinians who live in Israel with deep roots to the land, whose ancestors date back for centuries. I met with Ali Jaddah, tour guide, and the informal mayor of the African Palestinians in Old Jerusalem. I asked him about his life and relations between the Afro-Arabs and the Jews.
Well, life for him, I think it's the hell. I'm one of those people who had experienced that. To be Palestinian, that's a big problem. But to be a black Palestinian, I'm quite convinced it will be there, because as a black Palestinian, I am double oppressed by the Israelis.
In what way?
In what way? I will explain. First of all, they oppress me as a Palestinian. Secondly, they oppress me because of my color. Whenever I go around in the Israeli side, they call me Kushi. Kushi means nigger. Kushi means nigger.
So, in Israel, the land of God, people who were the brothers of the Arabs, two brothers, you are called nigger as I am called nigger in America?
Let's say on the surface, this is what they say, that this is the land of God and we are cousins and there should be total equality. But once you come to the practice, when you come on ground, you will find that there is a lot of discrimination and there is a real divorce between what they say and what they exercise.
Blacks and whites who watch the show saying, so why stay? Why stay when you are called nigger every day? Why stay when you are denied your rights?
On the contrary, the more they humiliate me, the more they oppress me, the more I stick to my land. Because this is my land. I'm so rooted. We are deeply rooted as Africans, as Palestinian Africans in this land. And we know pretty well that our ancestors, I'm talking about thousands and thousands of years, had been here in this country, but they were spread away, taken to Africa, from Africa to the United States. So the more they exercise brutality, the more they exercise oppression against me, the more we are determined to stay, because this is our homeland and we have a message. We have a holy message.
Okay, I'm just pausing it just for a moment. The gentleman, if you're listening to the clip, he said that they have been here for thousands of years. This is their land. And he stated that he is also called Cushi, which means a nigger there, because of the color of his skin. He said, so I get oppressed doubly over here in Palestine. He's a black Israelite Palestine that's over there with the Arab Muslim Palestine. He said, even though they say that they believe, he said, what they say and what they do are two different things. So when you're listening to this man, he also said that they were scattered throughout Africa and scattered from Africa, and he said scattered to where? To America. So this man is once again telling you where the indigenous people have been scattered to. So let's continue listening.
That this land should be the land of real peace, not the false peace that they are talking about. We know pretty well that our ancestors, I'm talking about thousands and thousands of years, had been here in this country, but they were spread away, taken to Africa, from Africa to the United States. We know pretty well that our ancestors, I'm talking about thousands and thousands of years, had been here in this country, but they were spread away, taken to Africa.
This clearly shows you right here that indeed we are the true house of Israel that was scattered. Yah says that he's going to cleanse the land after the Gog-Magog war, and he also brought the people from the north who descend from God, the Khazars, and he let them profane his holy name. He let them be his people for a little while. But then Yah says, I will no longer let them profane my holy name anymore. And after the war, Yah says that he will cleanse the land. He will also make a great earthquake, that the whole world will feel the earthquake. He will cleanse the land and then bring back the captivity of his people that he scattered through the Atlantic slave trade and the East African slave trade. He will bring them back, and he will no longer hide his face from us anymore. Now, before I end this, I want to talk about one more thing. It is a pastor, a black pastor here in America, and his name is Pastor Omar T-Bowles. Pastor Omar T-Bowles. Here in America, he have a church. He's a Baptist Christian preacher. However, he teaches his congregation that they are Hebrew Israelites. That is what he teaches, even though he is a Christian minister. And just after Donald Trump gave the declaration of Jerusalem being the capital of Israel and moving the United States Embassy to Jerusalem also, that the Arabs, they got together and they had a meeting. They had a meeting in Egypt about what they are going to do considering this new declaration that Trump gave. So all the Arab leaders had a meeting in Egypt. And after the meeting, they sent a personal letter to Pastor Omar here in America. Yes, they sent a personal letter to Pastor Omar. Now, let's go inside the letter to see what they wrote to Pastor Omar. The letter that they sent to Pastor Omar, it was in Arabic and English. In Arabic and English. Now, you're looking at right here, you're looking at the Arabic part of the letter that they sent to Pastor Omar. Now, this is the English part of the letter right here. And this is from the global guardians of Al-Aqsa, the administrative trustee. Okay, this is what these Arabics sent after Donald Trump made his declaration. Now, what they said Washington cannot broker peace negotiations on behalf of the Palestinians and Jerusalem family. Then it says, with the 13th Jewish tribe of European Ashkenazi Khazars, who, contrary to Nikki Haley's assertions at the United Nations today, then they said, do not carry any biological lineage to the original black and brown 12 tribes of Hebrew Israelites. Okay, now this is what these Arabic leaders wrote. Once again, they said, with the 13th Jewish tribe of European Ashkenazi Khazars, who, contrary to Nikki Haley's assertion of the United Nations today, do not carry any biological lineage to the original black, brown 12 tribes of the Hebrew Israelites. Then it says, nor can they trace any historical relation to Jerusalem, Palestine. You see that? This is a letter that these Arabic leaders wrote to Pastor Omar. So they telling Pastor Omar, we acknowledge that the original Hebrews are black. Okay, they acknowledge that the original Hebrews are black, and those European converted Khazar Ashkenazi Jews in that land, they do not belong there. But I find it funny, all of a sudden, all of these Arabic leaders, all of a sudden now, they want to come out and let the world know who the true Hebrews are. I find that very funny. All of a sudden, now they want to come out to let everybody know. Something tells me that they are going to take this to the United Nations and confess to the world that the original Hebrew Israelites are black.
All right. Prina, yes. Briefly, this is just seeing this connection to Psalm 83, because, we always have been reading that since we came into the truth, but actually seeing and knowing who these nations are and seeing how this connection and this covenant and how everything is just being dismantling. That's why I entitled today, teaching the last captivity of Israel, the dismantling of the crafty covenant, the Psalms 83 leaders. it's all, just like the gentleman said, it's just straight, all of a sudden now,
yeah,
you know, they want to come out and tell everybody when they see that it no longer benefits them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and that's why I said the deal went bad. You know, no, they didn't keep their part of the deal, so now they about to, you know, let the cat out the bag, you know, and tell, you know, because now they angry and upset. It's not, like you said, it's not benefiting them anymore.
Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and get back. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And so I asked the question earlier, what does this mean for the Psalms 83 nations? Well, you know, as Prina and I was just saying, what you're actually witnessing is the unraveling and dismantling of a crafty covenant that took place, because we already know who they are in the covenant that these two nations made. They were along with others that entered into it. But the fact that these Arab leaders have now, you know, at this time announced that we, the so-called blacks, especially in America, that we are. You see, they didn't go anywhere else. Why did they come here? You know what I'm saying? Because they know that us blacks over here in America are the chosen people, that we're true Judah. That's why they came to us, because we are the leading tribe, Judah, okay? They could have went anywhere else, but they know. They waited until now to announce that we are the chosen people, the true Israelites. So this not only sets the stage for an all-out war, but also the soon return of our Messiah and the restoration of the land back to his true people. I mean, all of this is just coming back. You know, all of this is just coming to a head. And these Arab leaders, they've been knowing, like the gentleman said, they've been knowing the truth. And I had a Jew and Arabs, they've been knowing who we were. They know who we are. I had one. They told me, you know. I was eating at a restaurant. A friend and I were eating at a restaurant. We were waiting for our table to get ready. We were talking. And I guess they thought, like, oh, they used to think they know something. I bet they don't know this. And he was like, you know, according to Scripture, I don't think that we're the chosen people of the Most High. We don't fit it. And this was a Jew. And we looked at him and said, we know, you're not, we are. And he said, and the only thing he said was, oh, you know. See, they don't expect us to know anything. They don't expect us to know anything. All these nations sitting around here that have come to this country, and we're spending all our money going broke, giving all our money to the Chinese and the Asians and the beauty supplies and the gas station, all these. They all know who we are, and not near one of them go lift a finger to tell you. They might confirm it after you confirm it first. You know, we got Caucasian white people. They're all coming out. Like one guy, Dana Stevens. They're all coming out telling us. All these other nations are coming out telling us the truth. I mean, even Prina was saying when her professor, I think it was either Asian or Japanese professor, told her years back that we were the people. She was like, y'all don't even know who y'all are. So my question to the so-called blacks, the so-called African Americans here in America, and those who are scattered worldwide, what more do you need? What more do you need? The whole world is telling you that you're the chosen, but you still want to be a Gentile. You still want to believe you're a Gentile when you come from royalty. Only one nation of people have had their history deleted, erased, and replaced with a false history, given false names, false religions. Only one nation of people was plucked off of their homeland, brought to a new land that they nor their forefathers know. Only one nation of people came by way of ships and served them for 400 years. That's you. Deuteronomy 32, verse 26 through 29. Deuteronomy 32, verse 26 through 29 says, And I said, I would scatter them into corners. I would make the remembrance of them to cease from among men. This is Yah. Yah is saying, I'm the one that's doing this. That's why he said no man is going to save you. No matter what so-called black leader rise up, Yah said they ain't going to be able to, nothing they going to be able to do about it. He said, I would make the remembrance of them to cease from among men. The remembrance of who we once were has ceased from among men. He says, but I feared the taunt of Israel's enemy, who might understand and say, our people has triumphed. The Most High has nothing to do with this. For they are a nation, Yah says, void of counsel. There is no understanding in them. Our people are a people who are void of counsel. We have no understanding. That's why we don't keep the Sabbath. That's why we go to church on Sunday. That's why we celebrate Christmas, Easter, and Halloween, Thanksgiving. This is the reason why we do this. Look at what he says in verse 29. I'm going to read again, verse 28. Deuteronomy 32:28. They are a nation void of counsel. There is no understanding of them, meaning they don't know me. Knowledge of who Yah is understanding, according to Proverbs 9 and 10. They don't know who Yah is. That's why they have no understanding. But look at verse 29. Oh, I wish they were wise, that they would understand this, that they would consider their latter end. He said, oh, I wish they were wise. Well, I'm going to read 3 other versions. One version says, if only they were wise, if they would just figure it out, that they would understand their fate. A second version said, I wish that they were wise and could understand this, that they could comprehend what will happen to them. If our people would just understand what was getting ready to happen to them in the end times. Look at the last version says, I would have wished that they were wise, that they would understand this, that they would discern their future. You see, these curses, this is future. What's happened to us, these things have been prophesied. What happened to our people in the last days. He said, oh, if they was wise, if they just could figure it out, if they could understand what would happen to them in the future, what would happen to them in the last days, if they could just understand what their fate going to be if they don't turn away. That's why he said in Hosea 4 and 6, my people perish for lack of knowledge. He says, because you reject knowledge, I also reject you from being a priest to me. Since you have forgotten the Torah of Yah, he said, I will forget your sons, even I. Look at our children. Look at our people. Yah has forgotten about us. We are a forgotten people. Nobody considers, nobody tries to help us. These nations been knowing who we are for the longest. These Arab leaders been knowing who we are. Why is it that they waiting until now? You think they care about us? They come to save us? No. They pissed off because, like Preeta said, the deal went wrong. Trump has pulled a card from up and pulled the rug from up underneath them. Now they're like, whatever, forget this covenant we made in Psalms 83. I don't care what my forefathers made. We're getting ready to tell them that they the true people, and these people over here that you getting ready to give this land to and make Jerusalem the capital, them the fake Jews. Them Israelis, Ashkenazi Jews that came over there in 1948. Them ain't the people. Do you see? He says, my people perish for lack of knowledge. What is knowledge? Proverbs 9 and 10. Knowledge of who Yah is understanding. So you might as well say, my people perish for lack of knowing who I am. Because you rejected me, and you've forgotten about my Torah, I'm going to forget you and your son. That's why he has turned his back. We're looking at the back of Yah and not the front. He's laughing at our calamities, and he's allowing our enemies to oppress us, and he's doing nothing about it until his people are called by name, will humble themselves, seek his face, repent from their wicked ways, Turn to him, and then he will heal our land. We got to repent. When you try to tell them, our people, about Christmas and Easter holiday, they don't want to hear it. They're going to still say, Happy Birthday, Jesus. They're going to still say, Merry Christmas, Happy Thanksgiving, Happy Birthday. It's a shame. Our people are so blind. Go to Jeremiah 17:4 quickly, because I'm going to give you a couple of precepts. Jeremiah 17:4. Because I've already read to you what Psalms 83 has said. Jeremiah 17:4, it says, and you will, even of you yourself. He says, you shall discontinue from your inheritance that I gave you, meaning through your own fault, because of your disobedience. He says your own fault. He said through you, because of your own fault, you will lose the inheritance that I gave you. I gave you that land over there that the Gentiles trotting down, that the Gentiles fighting and getting ready to go to war about. He said, I gave you that land. But because you didn't want to serve me, I'm going to take it from you. I'm going to give it to a people who are not a people. I'm going to let them trotting down the land. He polluted his own inheritance because of our disobedience. He says, and you will, even of yourself, because of your own fault. He says, you shall discontinue from the inheritance I gave you. Through your own fault, you're going to lose it. He says, and I will make you serve your enemies in the land which you do not know. For you have kindled a fire in my anger, which will burn forever. This is being fulfilled right now as we speak. Psalms 83. Jeremiah 17:4 is a precept to Psalm 83. Remember, Psalms 83 says that they will take crafty counsel against your people. They will plot against your hidden ones. They have said, come, let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel be no more in remembrance. For they have conspired together with one heart, that they will cut a covenant against you. The president was saying it earlier. The former president of Egypt told the Ashkenazi Jew, he said, you left here black and you came back white. He said, and we will never accept you. He said, we're not going to accept you. The Israelites, he said, you left black, then you came back white. He said, we're not going to accept you because we know you're not the people. The Arab leaders know they're not the people. That's the reason why they tell it now. They don't care no more. In Genesis 10, verses 1 through 5, go to quickly Genesis 10. Genesis 10, 1 through 5 gives us the genealogy of the repopulation of the earth through Noah's three sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And Ashkenaz, if you go now and you look at Genesis chapter 10, look at Genesis chapter 10 just real quick. I want to give you guys some history, because this is going to be very important. You need to know, when you know who the people are, then you got to know who these people who pretending to be us and what's going on and why they fighting over there in their land and why these Arab leaders decided to come and finally tell. Genesis 10:1, and these are the generations of the sons of Noah, Shem, and Ham, and Japheth, and the sons born to them after the flood. The sons of Japheth, Gomer, Magog, Madai, Javan, Tubal, Meshach, and Tyrus. And Gomer's son was Ashkenaz. Ashkenaz. Look at verse 3. Ashkenaz. These Ashkenaz Jews. And it keeps going on. He says, by these be the isles or the coast of the nations of the Gentiles, who were divided in their lands by each his tongue, by their families. Do you see here the Ashkenaz is referred to as Gentiles coming through Japheth? Okay, Noah's third son. Are you seeing this? They're called Gentiles. Okay? Genesis 10 verse 3 gives you the lineage of Japheth. And when you keep reading down to verse 5, it tells you that these were the Gentiles. So this is the reason why the Arab leaders sent this letter. Why they're finally coming out and said they hold no claim. They have no lineage to the black and brown 12 tribes of Israel. That's why they telling you that they're the Gentiles. They're the fake ones, just like the gentleman said in the audio clip. Nobody cares about them oppressing Israel over there. Why? Because they know that them are not the real Israelites, that they're not oppressing Yah's people. Those people are not his true people. We are. They're not oppressing. They know who the true people are. That's why they're comfortable with what's going on over there. He said, I will bless those that bless you and curse those that curse you. And they're just like the black Palestinian over there who is Israel, the black one. He said that the Arab Palestinians that's over there told him, look, you are cousin. Because Ishmael and are the cousins through Abraham. That's why they feel like they have some right to that land. Do you understand? Is it coming clear now? But again, Genesis 3 tells you the lineage of Japheth, which is the Ashkenaz, and then Genesis 10, verse 5 tells you that these were the Gentiles. So only through Shem will you find the true Israelites via Abraham, not just Abraham, who was the father of many nations, but also Isaac, and then through Jacob, and Jacob had 12 sons, and Judah was the fourth of the 12. Let's go to Deuteronomy 32. Deuteronomy 32, verses 20 and 21. Deuteronomy 32, 20 and 21. And he said, I will hide my face. This is Yah talking about Israel. He said, I will hide my face from them. I will see what their end will be. Remember, he said, if they would just consider, even if they would just figure it out and comprehend what their end going to be, what their fate going to be. He says, I'm going to just hide my face from them. That's why all our black men and women getting shot and killed by the police, he's not doing nothing. Obama came in office, he didn't do nothing because he don't care anyway. He ain't us, he ham. He ain't Shem. But he said, look, when all this happened, you out there kumbaya, holding hands, doing candlelight vigils, doing Million Man March, got all the Black Lives Matter. Yah doesn't, he said that no man was going to be able to save you. Yah said, I'm hiding my face from you. You're going to see my back. Why? He says because in verse 20, they are a perverse, a wicked generation, sons in whom there is no faithfulness. We serve all the other gods, just like Prina and I was saying. Our people will celebrate every holiday, tradition, custom when it comes time for St. Patty's Day. We're going to put on green and we're going to celebrate that. We are not Irish and Scottish, but we're going to do it. When it's Christmas, we're going to celebrate that. When it's Thanksgiving, we're going to celebrate that. When it's New Year's, we're going to celebrate the goddess Janus. We're going to celebrate Valentine's Day. We're going to celebrate the goddess Ishtar coming up in spring for Easter. We're going to celebrate. We're going to celebrate Cinco de Mayo, and we ain't Mexican. We're going to celebrate everything under the sun, except what is in the Bible that he has told our people to celebrate. And then they're going to turn around and then say that you are in a cult because you following the Bible, but they celebrating everything. Our people want to join these Greek Roman fraternities. You ain't Greek. Wake up. You Hebrew. But you want to join a Greek sorority and fraternity and hold up and chant and squeal with their pagan idolatry symbols and serving the god Minerva and all these pagan gods and the speed gods and all the gods. We did a lesson earlier. Check out our lesson about the truth behind the sororities and the fraternities. We exposed them. Our people get upset. I had one sister that I used to work with, and she told me that the Most High came to her in a dream and showed her because she used to be, I think she was a Delta, and she said it came to her in a dream and told her that it was pagan and come out, and she left it. There's others that I know that I've tried to tell them about that. They don't want to hear it. They want to still throw up their Greek symbols, talking about Hellenism, don't even know what you involved in. You serving a pagan God. You can't serve two masters. You going to love one or hate the other. Come out of her, my people. So-called African American, it's time for you to wake up. I've had people who still in Christian church talking about, my pastor told me we the children of Israel. Then why are you still in Sunday church? If he told you the children of Israel, then why are they still teaching that the law is done away with? Why are you still eating pork, shrimp, crab, and lobster? Why are you still celebrating these holidays? But we in a cult because we came out. How is it that we in a cult when we celebrate what's in the Bible? Again, our people will celebrate every tradition, custom, whether it's from from any other nation, all the pagan heathen nations, or every other nation, but they will not touch the feast days of Yah. They will not honor the true set-apart Sabbath, the seventh day, but they will hold down Sunday, get upset with you, and tell you every day is a Sabbath when that ain't nowhere in Scripture. It's time for you to wake up, so-called African American. Wake up, as the pastor said. Everybody in the world knows, except you. You still want to be a Gentile. Wake up. Oh, if my people would just have wisdom and be wise and understand what is happening to them in their last days. Deuteronomy 32, verse 20 and 21, and Yah said, I will hide my face from them. I will see what their end will be, for they are a perverse generation, sons of who is no faithfulness. Again, they're going to be faithful to everything but what's in the Bible. They made me jealous with that which is not a God. They made me angry by their vanities. And I shall make them jealous by not a people, by a foolish nation. I will make them angry. He's doing it right now. He's doing it right now. By people that are not a people. But our people, because we don't even know who our owner is, I know who his owner is. He said, but Israel, we don't even consider. We ain't even thinking. We over there talking about some send money to Israel. Negro, you Israel. Wake up. It's you. This book, the Bible, is a history book. It tells about your people. It tells your beginning to the ending. Verse 23, if you look at Deuteronomy 32, verse 23, Yah said that he will heap evil upon us. Why is he saying I'm going to heap evil upon the true Israel? Go back to Deuteronomy 28. Go back. Deuteronomy 28. Let's read verse 45 through 47. Deuteronomy 28. Verse 45 through 47. Why did Yah say that he was going to heap evil upon us? And all these curses shall come on you, so-called African American, and shall pursue you and overtake you until you are destroyed. For you did not heed the voice of Yah, your Most High, to keep his commandments and his statutes, which he commanded you. And they shall be on you for a sign and for a wonder, and on your seed forever. Why? Because you did not serve Yah, your Most High, with joyfulness and the gladness of your heart, for the abundance of all things. And so since you wouldn't serve Yah with joy and gladness, verse 48, he says, you shall serve your enemies, whom Yah shall send on you, in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and in lack of all things, and he shall put an iron yoke on your neck until you have been destroyed. Are you reading this? He says, because you didn't take heed to the voice of Yah, you didn't listen to Yah. He says, so this is going to be on you. These curses of Deuteronomy 28, they're going to be on you for a sign and a wonder. What is a wonder? When people wonder, they're going to be wondering, how in the world did y'all fall? Y'all were such a great people. All the world leaders know. They're like, look at these people. When we go in, when they see our people coming in the gas stations, especially some of y'all, I saw a lady coming here with pajamas on, hair on, rollers. They look at us like, I know they be looking at us like, when we go in these beauty supply, like, y'all, with all this red hair and blonde hair and purple hair and just, they looking like, do y'all even know who y'all are? Do you have a clue to who you are? When they look at us, they wonder, like, what in the world happened to y'all? How in the world did y'all fall so far? He says these curses will be on you for a sign. This is how you would be able to mark and identify who Israel is, by these curses. When you see the majority of these curses on a certain group of people, you're going to know that these are his chosen people. Nobody fit these curses but us. And he said it's going to be on you and your seed, meaning your children and your descendants. He says forever in verse 46. Verse 47. Why? Because you did not serve Yah with joy and gladness. What did he say? Look, let's go down to 48. He says you're going to serve your enemies whom Yah shall send on you in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness. When our people came over here on them slave ships, you can just Google it. We were naked. Crammed like sardines. It almost brings me to tears when I saw the images of how they had us in there, sitting in and laying in our feces for months, and however long it took us to get to America. But it says, in lack of all things. And then he says he shall put an iron yoke on your neck. When our people came over here, we were naked. We have yokes of iron around our neck. He says, until he has destroyed you. Verse 49, Yah shall raise a nation against you from afar, from the end of the earth, as the eagle flies. What is the symbol for the United States? It's not the symbol for the United States an eagle. We're looking, Deuteronomy 28 is prophesying of you, so-called African American, that they from the U.S. would come and get your behinds because you wouldn't listen to Yah. And you stepped away from his law, the same law that these pastors are telling you right now is done away with. That's how we got over here, because we didn't obey his commandments. And they're teaching you to not keep the commandments. He said, since you don't want to listen to me, you don't want to keep my commandments, I'm going to send a nation from afar, from the end of the earth. The United States is far from where we were. It's the other end of the earth. He says, as an eagle flies. That's the United States symbol. He said, a nation whose tongue you will not understand. Again, we did not speak English. We spoke Hebrew. Verse 50, a nation fierce of face, who did not regard the person of the age, nor show favor to the young. They did not care how they treated our elderly people when they brought them over here. Oh, if my people were wise, that they would understand and discern what would happen to them in the end times. I'm going to give you a couple of precepts. The first precept, Jeremiah 18, verse 15 through 17. Go to Jeremiah 18 now. Jeremiah 18, verse 15 through 17. Jeremiah 18, verse 15. But my people have forgotten me. This is Yah. My people have forgotten me. They have burned incense to vain idols. They have caused them to stumble in their ways from the old path, to walk in bypath, not on the highway, to make their land a desolation, a hissing forever. Everyone who passes by will be amazed. When it says that they will be amazed, that means they're going to be wondering. And then they're going to be, what does it say? They're going to be amazed and they're going to shake their head. Didn't he say that Israel is a shaking of the head among the people? When people look at the so-called African American and so-called blacks, they look at us and they shake their heads. And I know they do because I look at us and I shake my head. He says, I will scatter you like an east wind before the enemy. We came from Jerusalem, which is in the east. He said, I'm going to scatter you. I will make them see the back of me and not the face in the day of their calamity. Then they said, come and let us plot schemes against Jeremiah. For the Torah shall not perish from the priest, nor counsel from the wise, nor word from the prophet. Come and let us strike him with the tongue, and let us not attend to any of his words. See, now they ready to hang the prophets. See, this is what they do now. When you come to them with the truth, they ready to hang you. Oh, you in a cult. You know? Second precept, Isaiah 46, verses 5, and then verse 9 through 11. Isaiah 46, verse 5 and 9 through 11. To whom will you compare and make me equal? Yes, compare me, that we may be alike. Yah said, who you going to compare me to? I ain't equal with nobody. Verse 9. Remember former things from them forever, for I am Yah, and no other Yah exists, even none like me, declaring the end from the beginning, and from the past those things that were not even done, saying, my counsel shall rise, it shall stand. And he says, I will do all my desire, calling a bird of prey from the east. Here we go again. A bird of prey. You have become a prey from the east. The man of my counsel from a far off land. We are the man of Yah's counsel, but we want to listen to his counsel from a far off land. He says, yes, I have spoken. Yes, I will cause it to come. Yah said, I'm going to make this happen. That's why I tell people, stop going around preaching hate doctrine and hate the white man. It's not a Yah. We are in this condition because of what we did. Stop blaming the white man. This ain't about the white man. The white man and all these other nations are tools. They're nothing but belts in the hands of Yah, spanking us, chastising us to get us back into shape because we walked away. This is part of our punishment. Stop blaming them. They don't have nothing to do with it. Yes, they went too far, and I'm going to read that in a minute. But the thing is, he said he's going to punish that nation. So judgment is coming. But the thing is, we have to remember why we are in this situation. We can't blame it. This is not about the white man. You stepped away from the covenant. You made an agreement in Exodus 19:3-8, and you stepped away from it. And now we're paying for it. Repent. Deuteronomy 28, verse 37 says, you will become a thing of horror, an object of scorn and ridicule to all nations where the Most High will drive you. He says that we will be a thing of horror, an object of scorn and ridicule to all the other nations. Everybody is going to be making fun of us. A scorn is something that you have contempt for. Something you have contempt for, you can't stand. You hate it. You ridicule, mockery. They're going to make fun of you. That's like a contemptuous laughter at something you hate, and you laugh, and you're sneering, you roast, you're putting it down. That's what they do to our people all the time. I know they talk about us behind our back. Many of you work with people of other nations. They laugh in your face, but trust me, behind your back, they're talking about us. They're talking about our children that they teach, too. I hear it all the time. It's a reason for it. Because this is part of your curse that Yah said will happen. Deuteronomy 28:37. 1 Kings 9:7 says, then I will cut off Israel from the land which I have given them, the house which I have consecrated for my name. I will cast out of my sight. I'm going to cast them out of my sight. So Israel will become a proverb and a byword among all people. This is 1 Kings 9:7. You can write this down. He said that he is going to cut us off from the land that he gave us. And he's going to cast us out of his sight so that we will become a proverb and a byword. A proverb is a saying that refers to a common fact, a catchphrase, a byword like nigger, even African American, that's a byword because we're not African American. Monkey, coon, blacks, all of these things. Black is a crayon. That's a color. That doesn't tell you where you are and where you come from and who you are as a nation of people. A byword is a nickname. It's a standing joke. We are the standing joke of the entire earth. Everyone laughs at us, mocks us, make fun while you stand out there with your blonde hair putting on that he said in the scriptures that yellow, which is synonymous with blind, was a curse. We are spending all our time trying to look like them when they're trying to look like us. So you see, there is a reason. Jeremiah 24:9 says, I will make them a terror and evil for all the kingdoms of the earth, and as a reproach and a proverb and a taunt and a curse in all the places where I scatter them. Wherever we go, people are afraid of us. He says, I'm going to make you a terror and evil in all the kingdoms of the earth. Everywhere we go, everybody's scared of the black man. People clutch their purses. They think we're going to rob them. We do it with our own people. We do it. We approach to our own selves. He said, I'm going to make you a proverb and a taunt. Everyone sit around and call each other nigger and all this. We still doing all of that. This is part of your curse. I'm trying to show you, so-called African American, that all the stuff that you doing, how you living, even being in the urban cities, even your people being your children standing on the corner, buck wild. That's in Isaiah. Being buck wild, meaning you unconscious. You don't have no idea who you are. Our children are the ones that are on the street corners at night, out there buck wild, unconscious, unaware that they are Yah's chosen people, a shame, a terror to all the kingdoms of the earth. This is the reason why they ready to lock us up. Every time somebody did something, it must have been a black man. So do you see, there's a reason for our condition, our spiritual condition. This is spiritual. This is a spiritual reason for our condition as a nation of people and why we act the way we do. So I want to bring something, and I was sharing with Prina this clip. And this is from Nadine Burke-Harris. I think she's a pediatrician. She's a doctor, and she talks about how adverse childhood experiences, and such as childhood trauma, how this affects your health and your brain development. And this is going to go back to the curses on why in Deuteronomy 28 it says that you're going to have the highest rate in all the diseases of all the people. We're going to have the highest rate. He said you're going to be on the bottom, and all the other nations are going to come up very high, and they're going to be over you. This is what's happened. Out of all the other nations, we are on the bottom, and they're on top. You can't tell me that we are not the people. Those of you who choose to not believe this teaching after today, because I know that Yah is speaking through me today and that this lesson is being taught, and I'm bringing you scripture and history for you to understand this. But let's listen to this clip from Nadine Burke, and she's going to show you how your trauma and the things you go through as a child, this explains why our children can't sit still in school, have ADHD, what they call it, why many of us have these diseases that have come on us, and what happens in your childhood and how you grow up and how that affects you. So, and Preeta and I are then going to come in, Preeta, we're going to share our score, because there's actual ACE tests that you can take to see where you fall in this, and depending on where you fall, numbering from 1 to 10, I think if you're 4 or higher, you are at greater chances of having all these health issues later on in life, depending on what happened. And so we're going to listen to this clip, and we're going to come back, and I'm going to show you how this directly links to the curses.
In the mid-90s, the CDC and Kaiser Permanente discovered an exposure that dramatically increased the risk for 7 out of 10 of the leading causes of death in the United States. In high doses, it affects brain development, the immune system, hormonal systems, and even the way our DNA is read and transcribed. Folks who are exposed in very high doses have triple the lifetime risk of heart disease and lung cancer, and a 20-year difference in life expectancy. And yet doctors today are not trained in routine screening or treatment. Now, the exposure I'm talking about is not a pesticide or packaging chemical. It's childhood trauma. Okay, what kind of trauma am I talking about here? I'm not talking about failing a test or losing a basketball game. I am talking about threats that are so severe or pervasive that they literally get under our skin and change our physiology. Things like abuse or neglect, or growing up with a parent who struggles with mental illness or substance dependence. Now, for a long time, I viewed these things in the way I was trained to view them, either as a social problem, refer to social services, or as a mental health problem, refer to mental health services. And then something happened to make me rethink my entire approach. When I finished my residency, I wanted to go someplace where I felt really needed, someplace where I could make a difference. So I came to work for California Pacific Medical Center, one of the best private hospitals in Northern California, and together we opened a clinic in Bayview Hunters Point, one of the poorest, most underserved neighborhoods in San Francisco. Now, prior to that point, there had been only one pediatrician in all of Bayview to serve more than 10,000 children. So we hung a shingle, and we were able to provide top quality care regardless of ability to pay. It was so cool. We targeted the typical health disparities: access to care, immunization rates, asthma hospitalization rates, and we hit all of our numbers. We felt very proud of ourselves. But then I started noticing a disturbing trend. A lot of kids were being referred to me for ADHD, or attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. But when I actually did a thorough history and physical, what I found was that for most of my patients, I couldn't make a diagnosis of ADHD. Most of the kids I was seeing had experienced such severe trauma that it felt like something else was going on. Somehow, I was missing something important. Now, before I did my residency, I did a master's degree in public health. And one of the things that they teach you in public health school is that if you're a doctor and you see 100 kids that all drink from the same well, and 98 of them develop diarrhea, you can go ahead and write that prescription for dose after dose after dose of antibiotics, or you can walk over and say, what the hell is in this well? So I began reading everything that I could get my hands on about how exposure to adversity affects the developing brains and bodies of children. And then one day, my colleague walked into my office and he said, Dr. Burke, have you seen this? In his hand was a copy of a research study called the Adverse Childhood Experiences Study. That day changed my clinical practice and ultimately my career. The Adverse Childhood Experiences Study is something that everybody needs to know about. It was done by Dr. Vince Felitti at Kaiser and Dr. Bob Onda at the CDC, and together they asked 17,500 adults about their history of exposure to what they called adverse childhood experiences, or ACEs. Those include physical, emotional, or sexual abuse, physical or emotional neglect, parental mental illness, substance dependence, incarceration, parental separation or divorce, or domestic violence. For every yes, you would get a point on your ACE score. And then what they did was they correlated these ACE scores against health outcomes. What they found was striking. Two things. Number one, ACEs are incredibly common. 67% of the population had at least one ACE, and 12.6%, 1 in 8, had 4 or more ACEs. The second thing that they found was that there was a dose-response relationship between ACEs and health outcomes. The higher your ACE score, the worse your health outcomes. For a person with an ACE score of 4 or more, their relative risk of chronic obstructive pulmonary disease was 2.5 times that of someone with an ACE score of 0. For hepatitis, it was also 2.5 times. For depression, it was 4.5 times. For suicidality, it was 12 times. A person with an ACE score of 7 or more had triple the lifetime risk of lung cancer and 3.5 times the risk of ischemic heart disease, the #1 killer in the United States of America. Well, of course, this makes sense. You know, some people looked at this data and they said, come on, you know, you have a rough childhood, you're more likely to drink and smoke and do all these things that are going to ruin your health. This isn't science. This is just bad behavior. It turns out this is exactly where the science comes in. We now understand, better than we ever have before, how exposure to early adversity affects the developing brains and bodies of children. It affects areas like the nucleus accumbens, the pleasure and reward center of the brain that is implicated in substance dependence. It inhibits the prefrontal cortex, which is necessary for impulse control and executive function, a critical area for learning. And on MRI scans, we see measurable differences in the amygdala, the brain's fear response center. So there are real neurologic reasons why folks exposed to high doses of adversity are more likely to engage in high-risk behavior. And that's important to know. But it turns out that even if you don't engage in any high-risk behavior, you're still more likely to develop heart disease or cancer. The reason for this has to do with the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, the brain's and body's stress response system that governs our fight or flight response. How does it work? Well, imagine you're walking in the forest and you see a bear. Immediately, your hypothalamus sends a signal to your pituitary, which sends a signal to your adrenal gland that says, release stress hormones, adrenaline, cortisol. And so your heart starts to pound, your pupils dilate, your airways open up, and you are ready to either fight that bear or run from the bear. And that is wonderful if you're in a forest and there's a bear. But the problem is what happens when the bear comes home every night. And this system is activated over and over and over again. And it goes from being adaptive or life-saving to maladaptive or health-damaging. Children are especially sensitive to this repeated stress activation because their brains and bodies are just developing. High doses of adversity not only affect brain structure and function, they affect the developing immune system, developing hormonal systems, and even the way our DNA is read and transcribed. So for me, this information threw my old training out the window, because when we understand the mechanism of a disease, when we know not only which pathways are disrupted, but how, then as doctors, it is our job to use this science for prevention and treatment. That's what we do.
All right, Prina. Are you in?
Here. I'm here, sis.
Okay. Did you hear what she said?
Yes.
Your thoughts on the things that she had, was saying?
Well, I mean, just growing up in just everyday childhood, me versus some of my family members that went through a lot of traumatic experiences, and the stresses that, they have to deal with daily. You can see like some overcame, some it took a lot longer to overcome those situations. So, I mean, I agree, that your traumatic experiences will affect how you, handle just the stresses of your everyday life. We see it in our classrooms, most definitely now more than ever. I see it all the time, and I just never attributed it to the test because I haven't heard of the test. But when you played the video of it, I'm like, I can see the correlation of the test as well as how it relates to our curses that Yah, had placed upon us as well.
Yeah, one thing that kind of stood out to me is how she talked about, like, if you see a bear, that's fine for that cortisone, that adrenaline to come then to go into survival mode if it's a bear. But then she said, what about if you're, that bear comes home every day? Yeah. And this is something you every day. Now she said you've gone from being adaptive to maladaptive. And so that's when these stress hormones are being released on a continuous basis. And I know for a fact that this does affect your health later on. Sometimes it may not affect you, like she said then, but then the children, their brains are developing when they're little. So if they're exposed to high risk of being to high risk adversity experiences, then this is definitely going to affect the way that their brain develops, and then thus affecting how they act when they're in class. And so when she talked about the different parts of the brain, and then the part that controls the impulse center, and that's why you have kids who are very impulsive, like you were talking about. One of your students was very impulsive and having ADD. This is probably why. I bet you if he took this test and he was able to, because he probably was young, this is the reason why he's acting the way he's acting, because that center has probably been damaged. You know what I'm saying? It hasn't been developed. And it also talked about affecting your immune system. And so, I mean, it causes a lot of things. And so this is, like she said, it's kind of shaped her practice and how she deals with things and giving this test, because then she can know how to better treat you, And so
as
this is kind of giving me helping me to kind of understand and have a little bit more compassion with our children. Because of the things, because a lot of it is not their fault. I mean, when they're coming to school acting like that, there's a reason why they're acting out, because really they have been exposed to so much adversity that the brain has not been developed where it can even handle it or even respond in an appropriate way. They can't sit still there. Like she said, the impulse, the control, the part of the brain that controls the impulse is not developed or is damaged because of what has happened.
Yeah, and you wonder why some of because I had over the last few years, I had a lot of students that were, how can I say it? They were turned off, like shut down, like nothing could reach them, no matter what you did, no matter how much you showed them that you cared and you loved them, no matter what affirmations you gave them to help build them up. It wasn't there, and that's because the trauma and the experiences that was in their home life. You see, they got to go back home to it.
Yeah, so that's that bear again that they go to every day. That bear.
Yeah, it's that moment they're there with you, but then they know at the end of the day you gone, and they got to go back to their home life, and so they stay in the mode that they're in. To cope, and you wondering why they so cold, and they don't have no emotions, and it's because they're the things or whatever traumatic experience they had at home, they can't share. For one, they're not going to go against sharing what goes on in their house, because normally what happens at home stay at home, and two, they know if they share, they're going to probably get in trouble or, or be removed from the parent that they truly love. So they don't, even though they might be abused or whatever, they still will stay in that environment because they don't want to be separated from that parent because they love that parent. So it's a whole lot that goes on in that situation, and so it gave me a clear understanding, and also it just shows you, like, how you illustrated, in scriptures, that Yah said that these things will come upon us, and we actually see it in our children. And it seemed like it has been more heightened now, like in education now, because when I was going to school, it wasn't as prevalent. I mean, as far as the compulsiveness and
just all the issues can't control. It's like what people don't even want to teach anymore because of it. Because it's nothing that you're not trained. It's like, and this is kind of giving me a better idea of what is going on and giving me a glimpse into what's going on. You know, and something I kind of want to read, and I'm going to get back to the lesson where it talks about. It says the children with toxic stress levels live much of their lives in flight or fight. They respond to the world as a place of constant danger, with their brains overloaded with stress hormones and unable to function appropriately. They can't focus on learning, so then they fall behind in school or fail to develop healthy relationship with peers, and or create problems with teachers and principals because they are unable to trust adults. Some kids do all three. And so I see this. You know, a lot of kids are dealing with, you know, they're being molested. They're dealing with parents who are drug addicts or alcohol, or they're not eating at home at all. They're being exposed to inappropriate things on television. It's just a lot of things. When our kids come, they got so many things before you can even, and then you want to try to give them a standardized test. You know what I'm saying? But I'm grateful for this because this is when they young and they don't get treated or helped, or you know and they don't have Yah in their life, you know, like how we put Yah in our kids' life. They grow up to be abusers or not know how to handle their everyday affairs, or they don't cope with things well. You know, they are run. Like you said, flight or, fight. You know, they're constantly in that mode. Yeah, it's constant survival mode because they're used to, like, you know, when things are not, they can't deal with it. And then also their emotions. She also talks about that part. They become very detached. And this was one of the other things they were talking about. It's like that's probably like what they call the emergency response system, like she talked about with the bear, where they're in survival mode and keep going over and over again. It talks about all these childhood things where emotionally they cannot cope. So in order to they're dealing with like depression, anger, anxiety. So you're getting this where they're very angry. These kids are coming to school. They're very angry. And because of the trauma that they suffered, maybe they saw a parent being abused or a parent who lived a promiscuous, lifestyle. Maybe the mom was a drug addict or a prostitute. It's so many things. And so kids, they are constantly in that survival mode. This is the way that they cope. Detach myself. Don't become emotionally attached. So that way they can survive because they cannot, at that age, deal with everything that's coming at them. Their brain is not developed, so it's affecting the way their brain develops. And then when they get older, this causes all these diseases because things did not develop. Because it had been not only attacking the brain, but also the immune system. And so it affects every area of their life. So I'm glad to have this information and I'm going to probably have the teachers see this because this is something. So those of you, so I can get back to the lesson, who would like to see this, just Google adverse childhood experience study. Go on YouTube. You can Google it or go on YouTube and you can see the video with Nadine Harris. Let me make sure I'm giving it right. Nadine Harris Burke. Go on YouTube and you can check it out from her and see exactly what. You can see the video of her. She's a black woman. I'm sure we probably already figured that out. But her name is Nadine Burke. Nadine Burke Harris. Okay, Nadine Burke, Burke Harris. and check that out. So this is part of the curses, because this is the reason why you think about, just quickly, all the trauma that we as a nation of people, you're talking about trauma. No nation of people has suffered the trauma that the so-called African Americans suffered with the most horrific slavery known to mankind, the transatlantic slave trade. So you can imagine how, just from this information that we learn, how this is affecting our people as a nation, and why our children act the way they are, why our people are the way that they are. And so just going back in conclusion, because we're trying to wrap this up, in conclusion, going back to Genesis 15 and 13, I want to go back there, but I'm going to read 13 and 14 because we're getting ready to go into the final captivity and why it's so significant before we get out. Genesis 15, verse 13 and 14. And Yah said to Abram, surely you must know that your seed, for certainly, that your seed will be a stranger or an alien in a land not theirs, and they shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years. And I will judge that nation whom they shall serve, and afterwards they shall come out with great substance. He says in verse 14 that after we would be afflicted over here in the United States, because this is where we were, he said that he would judge the nation that we would serve afterwards, and we would come out with great substance. So we got to look again. Where is this nation that the so-called African Americans was sent? We already gave you that. The precept is coming from Deuteronomy 28, verse 48 through 50. He says, and you shall serve your enemies whom Yah shall send on you in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and in lack of all things. And he shall put a yoke of iron on you until you are destroyed. Yah shall send a nation against you from afar, from the ends of the earth, as the eagle flies, a nation whose tongue you will not understand, a nation fierce of face, who will not, and pay attention, it says, who will not regard the person of age, nor show favor to the young. This is the United States of America that is being prophesied in Deuteronomy 28 and where we will be sent. So why are the nations scared? Why are they scared? Those who have harmed us and sorely mistreated us, the chosen people of Yah, why are they scared? One reason, judgment. We just read in Genesis 15 and 14 that Yah said after the 400-year captivity that he says in the last days, he said that he was going to judge this nation. He said he was going to judge this nation. I had a dream recently about judgment. I've had this dream that judgment is coming. I believe that my dream was about the horror of Babylon. And this is Babylon, where we are, the woman in the basket, Zechariah. But he says that this nation, United States, in Deuteronomy 28, verse 15, that they will not regard the person of the age, the older, the elderly. Well, let's go to Isaiah. Quickly go to Isaiah 47 and 6. And I'm going to show you. See, this is how you line up precepts. This is how you line up precepts. Isaiah 47 and 6 says, sit in silence and go into darkness, O daughter of the Chaldeans. This is talking about Mystery Babylon. Okay? This is the same nation that we were scattered to. Okay? In Deuteronomy 28, verse 50. Sit in silence and go into darkness, O daughter of Chaldeans, for they shall no more call you the lady of the kingdom. I was angry with my people. Yah said I was angry with them. He said, I polluted my own inheritance. Who is his inheritance? Israel. Who is Israel? We are. He said, I polluted my own inheritance. He says, I gave them into your hands. See, this is what I say. Stop hating on the way. He said, I did this. He says, but you showed them no mercy. He says, you made your yoke on the aged very heavy. See, this is lining up with Deuteronomy 28 and 50, that same fierce nation whose symbol is an eagle. That's the symbol of the United States. He says, I was angry with my people. He was angry with us because we stepped away from the covenant and served other gods. He said, I defiled my own inheritance and I gave them in your hands. He said, but you didn't show them no mercy. They fed our children and our babies to alligators. They have lynched. We have said some of the most horrific things that have happened to our people. One of the things that stood out to me, and I saw this today, because he says, you made the yoke heavy on the age. This lines up again, Isaiah 47, verse 6 lines up with Deuteronomy 28 and 50. He says, and you said, I shall be a mistress until you did set these things on your heart and did not remember its end. Now then, oh, hear this, oh, pleasure seeker who lives carelessly, who says in her heart, I am, and none else is. I shall not sit as a widow, nor shall I know the loss of children. See, this is the arrogance that is of this nation. I'm not going to be no widow. I'm not going to lose no children. Ain't not going to happen to me. That's why they call them like they're calling a virgin, because this land has not been touched. But Yah is saying, sit down in silence and get in darkness. That's a prophecy. He says, oh, pleasure seeker, who lives carelessly, who says in her heart, I am, and none else is. I shall not sit as a widow, nor shall I know the loss of children. But notice this is a woman. Even in my dream, the judgment was a woman. This nation is being referred to as a woman, the whore. Verse 9, but these two things shall suddenly come to you in one day, the loss of children and widowhood. According to the completeness, they shall come on you for your many sorceries, for the power of your great spells. See, this is the whore of Revelation that caused all the other kingdoms and other nations to be drunk with wine. For you trusted in your evil. You said, no one sees me. Your wisdom and your knowledge, it is turning you back, and you have said in your heart, I am, and none else. For this evil shall come on you, and you shall not know its origin, and mischief shall fall on you, and you shall not be able to recover from it. You ain't going to be able to cover it. You will not be able to cover it. There's nothing you're going to be able to do about it. And ruin shall come on you suddenly, and you shall not know. See, he says that he was just angry with us. He said, but they took it too far. Let me read something that happened, one of the lynchings of one of our so-called African Americans in North Carolina. They beat him in the face, and it says they cut off his ears. Then they cut off his body part, and then they lynched him. It says a few days later, his wife found out and said she was going to have them charged with murder. And by making that statement in that county, they didn't like it, so they went after her. And it says, and they brought the wife back to the area that they had lynched her husband. But instead of lynching at that time, they threw motor oil on her, and they set her on fire. And she was screaming so loud, one of the men shouted, shut that nigger up. So then, this is when they lynched her to shut her up. And after they lynched her, she had died. A few days later, they returned to look at her because they were still mad about the statement that she said of getting them charged with murder. So these people don't came back. After they don't set her on fire, after they don't lace her with motor oil, burn her, and then lynch her, and then going to come back 2 days later to look at her because they still mad because she said that she was going to have them charged with murder because they, killed her and lynched her husband and cut his body parts off and cut his ears off. And what else they did to her was just horrific. When I first read this, it almost brought me to tears. It says so that when they noticed that, so when they came back 2 days later, they said they noticed that life was still in the body. It says her baby was in her stomach, The baby, they said, was still alive. 2 days later, the baby's still alive. So one of the men took out his knife. He cut her stomach open, and the baby's head came out. Then gave 2 fetus cries. It was hungry. So rather than helping the baby, they grabbed the baby by the head, snatched it out of the stomach, threw it on the floor, took his shoe and crushed the baby's head, beating it into a pulp. And then they saw 2 cats eating the intestines of the husband that they lynched. So they picked up the cats and they pulled them into the stomach of where the baby once was, and then sold the cats into the stomach of the woman and made bets on which cat would get out first. This is just horrible. Yah said, I was angry in Isaiah 47:6 with my people. He said, I was just angry with them. He said, but you showed them no mercy. What I just read to you, what they have done and the things they have done to our people, I understand the anger. But Yah said that he will repay recompense to those who troubled us. He says that nation that I'm sending you to, I am going to judge them. So we see Yah was so angry with his inheritance, his chosen people, Israel, that he gave them over to one of the most horrific slaveries known to mankind, the transatlantic slave trade, which was and is the final captivity for the children of Israel. Again, 2019 will mark the end of the 400 years that Judah, the so-called African American, has been over here when we came in through Jamestown, Virginia, 1619. Again, 70 in the Bible means a restoration of all things. So we are just shy of the 70 years that these fake Jews, the Ashkenazi Jews, that the Arab leaders have just exposed, have been in the land, because 2018 minus 1948, which was the year that they went over there, is 70 years. 1 year later, 2019, will be the fullness of the Gentiles. So we need to just be praying to Yah, because we are living out the fulfillment of the scriptures. I don't know how anybody can not believe this book. This book is prophesying old and new. So those of you who are talking about you non-Messianic, you just as bad as the Christians that reject the old and you reject the new. You're no different. So stop beating them over the head. You're the same. And you're going to be in the same place they at. And he's not going to care about how much Hebrew you speak or what tassels you got on, or you keep the Sabbath and you teaching people to reject the renewed covenant. If you're rejecting the New Testament, then you don't have no Savior coming. You're not going to be in the renewed covenant. You have written yourself out of the book of remembrance. So you're not making no sense. You want to talk about Messiah is a black man. Where you get that from? In the New Testament. Stop playing around with your salvation. You're talking yourself out of your own salvation. You're going to be in the lake. Jeremiah 23, 7 and 8 says, behold, so the days come, says Yah, that they shall no more say, as Yah lives, who brought the sons of Israel up out of the land of Egypt, but as Yah lives, who brought up and led the seed of the house of Israel out of the land of the north. See, we live on the northern continent. And from all the lands where I have driven them, they shall dwell on their own land. Oh, if my people were wise, that they would understand and discern what will happen to them in the end days. For my people, Jeremiah 4 and 22, Yah says, for my people are foolish. They do not know me. They are stupid children. They have no understanding. They are wise to do evil, but they don't know how to good. We good with doing all the wrong stuff. Y'all says you stupid. This not me. Y'all calling you stupid children. He said you don't have no understanding. You wise to do evil, but you don't know how to do good. Read it for yourself. Jeremiah 4:22. Isaiah 43. We're going to read verses 3 through 10. Isaiah 43, 3 through 10. For I am Yah, your Most High, the set apart one of Israel, your Savior. I gave Egypt for your atonement, Ethiopia and Seba instead of you. Since you were precious in my eyes, you are honored, and I love you. And I gave men instead of you, and people instead of your soul. Fear not, for I am with you. I will bring your seed from the east, and I will gather you from the west. I will say to the north, give up, and to the south, do not hold back. Bring my sons from afar. Bring my daughters from the ends of the earth. Everyone who is called by my name, I have created him for my glory. I have formed him. Yes, I have made him. Bring out the blind people, yet they have eyes, and the deaf, yet they are ears to him. Let all the nations be assembled. Let the people be gathered. Who among them can declare this and cause us to hear the former things? Who can cause us to hear the former things? This is all Yah's doing. He is waking up these Ezekiel 37 dry bones. He says, let them give their witness. House of Israel, you are the two witnesses, the two houses, the house of Judah and the house of Ephraim. Ezekiel 37. These two houses comprise of the 12 tribes of Israel when they are regathered. He says, oh, let them hear and say it is true. Isaiah 43 and 10. You are my witnesses. So when everybody waiting on two literal people, Yah said that we are his witnesses. The two tribes, the two houses of Israel, the 12 tribes, we're the witnesses of Yah. Stop talking about, oh, it's Elijah and it's prophet, it's Moses. The 12 tribes. We are the witnesses. You're looking at it yourself. We are his witnesses. It's not two literal people. That's why we're scattered to all four corners of the earth. All of us. We will be out here witnessing. This is the role and the prophecy of the Israelites, true Israel, in these last days. The things that you see Prina and I doing, and everybody who are going hard for this truth and sharing truth and teaching and trying to wake you up. We all been trying to wake you up. Stop listening to these stiff-necked Hebrew Israelite camps with all these Ninja Turtle outfits on. They are tainters and spoilers of the faith. They are agents that are being paid by people in high places to come out here and spoil the faith. They have absolutely nothing to do with us. We are not a religion. Yah has not told us to hate any other nation or people and to go around and teach that white people will have no salvation. That has nothing to do with Yah. These people are paid to come out here and lie, to taint the faith. We are not a religion. This is who you are. This is the blood that's flowing through your vein. This is a nation. This is a way of life for us. This has nothing to do with a cult or a religion. Don't stop going to YouTube trying to get all your information and get in this book, fast and pray and ask Yah to open your eyes up to this truth. Because you are going to miss your salvation if you don't return back to it. You're going to be just like our forefathers, not entering into his rest. They spent 40 years in the wilderness and still did not enter. He said, I swear by my own name that they're not going to enter into my rest, and they never did. Don't be like them. You are the witnesses. The two houses, the house of Judah and the house of Ephraim, the two houses will be regathered. These are the 12 tribes. This is our role in this end time. So those of you who are awakened and got this truth, it's time for you to get out here and spread this truth and wake up our brothers. We are at the very end. We neck deep in this. Our Messiah is soon coming, and he needs all hands on deck. everybody to be out here doing this work. He said the harvest is plenty. He said, but the workers are few. It's not that many people that's doing this. It's a lot of work that go into the lessons that you guys hear. You guys have no idea how many hours and how much time I spend putting this together, studying, fasting, praying, researching, that I will be able to come before you and speak the truth. This is your job, Israel. You can come in. This is part of your job. This is our role. Yah needs us now more than ever. If you haven't believed it before, do you believe the report? We are at the very end. That's why I wanted to come from a different angle with this whole thing of knowing what's going on now and this fighting that's going on. And you are it. The Arab leaders have come out and told the truth. Believe the report. How many more people got to come out and tell you who you are? It's time for us to return back to this covenant and to wake the rest of our brothers and sisters up. Many of you are sitting around here and you're seeing your family members and friends on their way to hell. The sword is coming and you're not warning them. You're not telling them. He said the blood is going to be on your head if you're not telling them. We got a job to do. We are the witnesses. This is our duty. You can't get away from it. This has already been, he said, I've declared the end from the beginning. Some of you may be wondering, how do we turn back to Yah, especially those of you who are newly awakened to the truth? How do we reverse these curses on our family and our people as a nation? I'm going to tell you with my last scripture, and then I'm going to have Prina close us out with prayer. 2 Chronicles. Everybody go to 2 Chronicles. We're going to read verses 36 through 39. This is going to tell you we all, as a nation of people, need to pray this prayer before Yah, and we need to repent and turn back. How do we get these curses off of us? How do we return back? 2 Chronicles chapter 6, verses 36 through 39. Verse 36 says, when they sin against you, for there is not a man who does not sin, and you shall be angry with them. He's talking about Israel. And shall give them up before an enemy. And their captors shall take them captive to a land distant or near. And if they have a change of heart in the land, those of you who have awakened and have repented and turned away from your sins, and you are now keeping Torah, you are now keeping the Sabbath, you have put down eating the defiled foods like pork, shrimp, crab, and lobster, you have put down celebrating these wicked holidays and birthdays, you have had a change of heart in the land from which they have been taken captive. We are still in the land of our captivity. I think you are, especially our people, we think because we got a little bit of money, because we got a little bit of car, you might have a little job, you over here, you may think you're doing well, you think that you're blessed, and you are right. No, you are still enslaved. They have taken the physical chains off, but you are mentally, as a people, you're still in slavery. The jar he has already removed the jar off for you to be free from religion and from this pagan custom and traditions. You don't want it. You love Babylon and you love her system and her custom. He says in Revelation 18:4, come out of her, my people. He says, I'm going to read it again, 2 Chronicles 6, 36 through 39, when they sin against you, for there is not a man who does not sin, and you shall be angry with them and shall give them up before an enemy, and their captors shall take them captive to a land distant or near, and if they have a change of heart. He says if. The key word is if. There, again, is that consequence. People keep talking about unconditional love. Again, I keep telling you, there's no such thing as unconditional love. With Yah, he has conditions on how you must serve him. You can't serve him like the other people serve their gods, or you can serve 2 and 3. Yah says you must love the Most High Yah with all your heart, mind, and soul. That is the first and the greatest commandment. 2 Chronicles 6 and 37. And if they have a change of heart in the land from which they have been taken captive, and then repent and plead with you in the land of their captivity. Right now, we are in the land of our captivity. United States, this is not our home. We are in the land of captivity. We have had, those of us who have awakened and have turned back to Torah and are keeping the Sabbath and the feast day, you have had a change of heart in this place called the United States. We have repented, and he says, plead with Yah in the land of captivity. I pleaded when I cried out to Yah. When I got down on my knees in 2004, 13 years ago, and said, I want to truly know who you are, reveal yourself, I was pleading with him on the floor, crying out to him, saying what? We have sinned. We need to be saying this right now all together. We have sinned. We have done wrong, and we have acted wickedly. And now, when will Yah hear our cause? When did he say he's going to hear our cause? When did he say he was going to act on our behalf? When did he say he was going to come to our rescue? When did he say he was going to forgive us? He says in verse 38, if they return with all their heart and with all their soul. Where? When we get to Jerusalem? No. He said in the land of their captivity. Where you are right now. He ain't say we're going to wait till we get to, no, ain't no waiting till you get to the kingdom. You ain't getting ready to be raptured up out of here and you still doing wickedly and evil. He says that you must have a change of heart in the land of captivity where you at. You got to repent right here where you are in our land of captivity in the United States. Plead with him, confess your sins, and tell him that you have done wrong and you have acted wickedly. And then it says he will hear your cause. Then he will act on your behalf when you out there crying when they don't shot our brothers in the streets. Then he will come to your rescue and forgive you. When you return with all your heart. Not when you have a candlelight vigil. Not when you hold hands and sing Kumbaya. Not when you have a Million Man March. He said when you return with all your heart. When you repent. Where? In the land of captivity, right where we are now. We got to repent right here where we are now. You're looking at this now in 2 Chronicles 6, verse 36 through 39. He says right now where you are in the land of your captivity. He says where they have been what? Taken captive. This is where we were taken captive. This is where they brought us. They give you a false history. This is not, who were we before we got here? All they want to keep talking about is Martin Luther King and peanut butter and Malcolm X. Who were we before we got here? Yeah, we know we were slaves. Who were we before we got here, though? They don't never want to take you back there. The Arab leader just told you who you are and where you came from. And he just exposed those people over there that's pretending to be us. Like Prina said, the deal went bad. He like, whatever now, I'm getting ready to tell it all. He says, when you return with all your heart and with all your soul in the land of your captivity, where you have been taken captive, he says, and they shall pray toward their land. Our land is in the east. That's why when I pray to the east, that your father, that was given to your fathers, and toward the city. What city? Jerusalem. The city they over there fighting over now that they have no right or claim to stake to. Towards the city that you have chosen. Yah has only chosen Jerusalem as a place to put his name, but he's not over there right now. He says, and toward the house that I have built for your name. Then, after all of what the aforementioned things, after you have confessed your sins, after you have had a change of heart, after you have repented and pleaded your cause and confessed that you are sinned and that you have done wrong and acted wickedly, and then you have returned him with all your heart and all your soul in the land of captivity where you are right now. Then once you pray towards the land where I gave to your fathers, which is to the east, Jerusalem, towards the house that I built my name for, then he says, I will hear you from heaven. Then and only then did he say, well, I hear.
from your dwelling from where you dwelling right now. He said, this is when I'm going to hear your prayer and your supplication, and then I'm going to maintain your cause. That's when I'm going to maintain your cause. That's when I'm going to come see about you when you sing Kumbaya. His name is Yah. Psalm 68:4. He tells you, call me by my name, Yah. His name is not God. God is a title. There are many gods. I could say, hey, girl, if it's 5 girls, you all going to turn around. But if I say, hey, Prina, only Prina going to turn around. If your name Mary, you ain't turning around because I'm not addressing you. The Father's name, the Son bears his Father's name. He come in his Father's name. Jesus is not his name. That is a Roman Greco name, a pagan name. That picture that they have propagating around with the blonde hair, long hair, blue eyes, that is Caesar Borgia. That is not our Messiah. Our Messiah, according to Revelation, is a black man, hair like wool and white, feet like brass, dark skin. He comes from Judah, the same tribe, Israel, that you come from. Our men and our women were lynched, hung from trees. Our Messiah was hung from a tree, not on a cross. It was a stake or a tree. Many of the Bibles have made that correction. You are a mighty people. It is time for you as a nation of people to repent and turn back to the covenant. Only after you repent, turn back to the covenant, admit your fault, plead, and serve him with all your heart and soul. Then will he hear from heaven. Then will he come to your dwelling place, maintain your cause, and forgive you as a nation of people for all the sins you have done against him. Prina, you can come in. I'm done.
I'm in, sis. Awesome teaching. Awesome. Just, I just truly, just how you connected the final captivity and how it relates to who the true Israelites is, especially for those that don't know, and just how it connects to the prophecy of what's going on. And even in the beginning of your show, the video that you shared with Donald Trump, and he made a quote. He said, I'm just paraphrasing because I don't know word for word, but he said this is necessary to happen.
Yeah, that was kind of eerie here listening to him say
he said
that.
It was necessary, and when I heard that, I'm like, wow. It's just like prophecy has to be fulfilled, and that's what I got out of it. This must happen.
Yeah.
And I was like, just when I was listening, I was like, wow, like you said, eerie. But all the videos and everything, I mean, if you don't know who you are, this would definitely, this lesson will definitely connect you to that and what's going on and why we are hated and what's going on in Israel and Jerusalem.
Why they fighting.
And why they fighting.
Do you really have an understanding now as far as the Arab Palestine and why Palestinians and Israel asking about why they're fighting? Do you have a better understanding of why they're fighting now and over Jerusalem and how they both feel that they both have a claim to that land?
And the beginning video, I think right after Trump, you play A Storm is Coming. And it is coming, and we can see it. And, and I just pray that our listeners would share this lesson with, family and loved ones and continue to go back and listen to it and humble themselves and repent themselves and turn away, but just most importantly, making sure that they're examining their hearts and making their salvation sure, and working out their salvation in fear and trembling, because, if you don't see the awakening, you in a delusion and you want to pray and seek Yah, why you not seeing this? And hopefully, hopefully some brothers and sisters will wake up and take heed to this lesson and want to serve Yah in spirit and truth, and not just by what man is telling them or pastor is telling them, but seeking Yah for themselves.
Yeah,
you know,
hopefully they all understand this, and
yes,
also
and
how the 400-year prophecy is talking about us in the end time, and that's why I had to bring out Egypt, because they were in Egypt for 430 years. So a lot of people try to attribute it to that, but that has nothing to do with it, because the time they were there 430 years, 220 of those years, they were in good standing, and that's why I wanted to bring out Jasser.
Yeah,
so they would know that it was not
precept for that. Yeah. And you know, I just, you know, and just letting them know that, you know, like we in the 70th year of restoration is starting, and we know next year our 400 year is up, and we know a lot of things is gonna go down, and it's just time to get your house in order before it's too late, because you don't want to be on that receiving the plagues of the whore, because you will receive it if you're not serving Yah.
Oh, yeah, from my dream, it was a storm. Remember I told you it started out with a storm coming before we was carrying that, before that whore was being carried with us. And I believe this is symbolizing what the judgment is coming on this nation. So I just see all of this is coming, because I know that dream wasn't just no random. I don't dream, you don't dream stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? You don't dream stuff like that. And so I'm just starting to see more and more, because of what Trump is getting ready to do. I can see how this is happening, because they are furious. Okay, they're furious because they feel like they hold claim to that land as well. So everyone, right now they're sharing Jerusalem, but someone said Jerusalem is like a woman, you can't share her. So this was a person that was from on the Israel side, basically. So they pissed. They're like, oh no, y'all ain't gonna get ready with this. We getting ready to reveal to the whole world what's going on. And our people, we can even share this video of the letter and the Arab leaders doing, and they gonna still talk about something. They are still and tell me I don't believe it, but you gonna go over here and celebrate Cinco de Mayo and put on some green, St. Patty's Day and all of that stuff. You gonna do that, but are you St. Patty? Are you Irish? Are you Greek? You're going to do all of that. But, you know, our people shaking their head just like he said. So I'm going to allow you to lead us out.
Okay. Today I'm going to read from 2 Chronicles 7 and 14. And it says, and my people whom my name is called shall be humbled and shall pray and shall seek my face and shall turn back from their evil ways. Then I will hear from heaven and will forgive their sins and will heal their land. So be it. In Yeshua's name, so be it.
In Yeshua's name, so be it. So we want to thank you for hanging in there with us as long. We know today this is probably like one of the longest shows, teachings, but it's going to be well worth it. I think from the beginning to the ending, people are going to be able to stay with it, because the information you get is just going to just keep you awake. And there are times we can sit and watch all these movies and, like Prina said, and sit up and go to concerts, but then when it comes to things of Yah, we want to put it on a time limit, you know? So
that's so
with that being said, we're gonna, may Yah bless and keep you. May He make His face shine upon you and be gracious to you. May He lift up His countenance upon you and give you peace. With that being said, Shabbat Shalom. Hear, O Israel, Yah, our Abba is one. Here today.